legislative state body. You don't rock up in court. You get called to go to court by a subpoena. Why Section 12 of the CGE allows us, or actually prescribes that we subpoena, is because we are looking at the duties that you have in relation to our mandate. And should those duties not be fulfilled, we reserve the right to take the matter further. So we can't call each other, in a very informal way, and then the next thing you hear that CGE is presenting in Parliament. They say they had a meeting with us and, we failed to provide 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the context of the subpoena. This is a formal sitting of you coming to account. Nothing less, nothing more, to account on certain of the issues that are related to our mandate. Having said that, I would like to say this is also a professional setting. So we are going to deal with each other with the utmost respect and professionalism that either side can muster. Nobody's going to come here and deal with you like we're interrogating you. But we are expecting a return of favor from your side in terms of answering honestly, transparently, giving us information. Where you do not have the information, to actually say we don't have that information, or yes, we have an ad there. But above all, we would like to hear you tell us about your challenges, because we take our reports to Parliament. We can call any ministry, we can call any department. So use that opportunity to say to us, by the way, as you are going around as C9, tell them we're struggling with 1, 2, 3, 4. That is why I'm saying we're not going to fight here. We're going to understand where each one of us is coming from. We have a mandate to hold duty bearers accountable. You are duty bearers in a particular sector. That is why we are here. But then maybe you may ask, where does our mandate come from? If you check Section 181 of the Constitution, you'll see the organizations that I listed, that where I started. But it takes the CGE mandate further in Section 187 of the Constitution. In fact, I just, CEO, no, not even CEO, Mr. Baloyi, I think we need to start ordering boxes and boxes of the Constitution. Where we go, we dish it up. Because that is actually supposed to be our Bible as civil servants. So Section 187 of the Constitution says, these are the things that you should do. And then the CGE Act 36 of 1998 then captured, is it 98 or 96? I think I'm missing 98, yes. 36 of 98, you are right. 39 of 1998. Thank you for being on the ball. So, then that act captures in detail who we are, how we were appointed, what we go out there and look for. So, why I'm laying this foundation, I want none of us to go beyond their powers, but I also want none of us to actually be disrespectful to either side. You understand? Yeah. So that's why I was laying that foundation. So we are going to do as the program director has said, and once again, I want to welcome you. Lastly, I want to refer you, that is how I remembered the Constitution. Anything and everything that has to do with working towards a progressively realizable world or country where there is gender equality is our mandate. Gender equality is our mandate. So what we are going to be asking you goes beyond GBV. I'm saying this because sometimes people, but CGE like GBV. No, GBV is just but one of the many sectors that we deal with. That is why today we have said, come and answer to us about SMMEs. We go to universities and ask them certain questions. We go to mining houses and ask them certain questions. And by the way, I'm mentioning this because we are not only calling government departments. Each and every individual and juristic citizen of the country is under the authority of the CGE. We may subpoena them. So you are not here because you're government. You are here because you've got a duty towards certain sectors of our society. That duty is linked to us by us working towards gender equality. So I hope it has clarified a few things in case you were like, why us? Why Tshwane? It could have been anyone, but this time it is you. Thank you very much. Bradley?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. All right, so now we're just going to go around the room and we're just going to introduce ourselves. The CGE commissioners will introduce themselves first, then the CGE staff, and then we'll allow the City of Tshwane to introduce their delegation from their side.
You've heard Ntabiseng Sipanya Mokhale, the chairperson of the organization. Thanks.
Good morning, Mulalo Nemataeni, a commissioner in the Commission for Gender Equality.
Good morning, I'm Commissioner Dr. Naidu from the CGE.
Good morning, Dennis Matotoka, the CEO of the Commission for Gender Equality.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Siam Samai, I'm Commissioner Siam Samai.
Good morning. I am Tsietsi Shuping. I'm the acting head of legal department for the commission. Thank you.
Good morning, Kujo Munyipao. I am the Gauteng Provincial Manager for the Commission for Gender Equality.
Greetings, good morning. Koketso Siku, Acting Public Education and Information in the Commission for Gender Equality.
Good morning. My name is Sillo Molekwa. I'm the Communications Manager at the Commission.
Good morning. My name is Thandi Mashazi. I'm a researcher at the Commission for Gender Equality.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Chabo Paloy. I'm the spokesperson at the Commission.
Good morning. My name is Kehumuditse Mary. I'm the Gauteng Provincial Legal Officer for the Commission for Gender.
Good morning. My name is Hamisu Tole, Director in Legal Services.
Good morning. My name is Zugiswan Tsigeni. I'm the Group Head for Community and Social Development Services. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Paledi Maruta. I'm the Group Head Strategy and Management Support at the City of Tshwane.
Good morning. Johan Mettler, City Manager.
Morning, my name is Benjamin Manaswe, the Acting Group Head for Economic Development and Special Planning Department.
Okay, thank you very much. I will now call on the Chief Executive Officer of the CGE to go through the purpose of the hearing.
I'm telling you, Chair. Good morning, once more, Chairperson, Commissioners, colleagues. In terms of our programs, in terms of the annual performance plan, we have different thematic areas that we are focusing on. And all these thematic areas, they center around the attainment of gender equality in different spheres of society. Now, we have chosen the informal sector because one of the aspirations of the NDP is to reduce poverty, inequalities, and also ensure economic growth. And we do not appreciate that the informal sector in the main contributes significantly towards the GDP in South Africa. But it's a sector that is often seen separate and not a subset of the economic sector in South Africa, which continues to have a quite number of challenges. The challenges which, if they're not addressed, they undermine the aspirations of the NDP. They undermine the aspirations of Section 9 of the Constitution. They perpetuate a certain level of discrimination towards certain genders in the space, because we know that in the main, women are the face of the informal sector as it is currently now. So we asked the city to appear before us because we want to interrogate the specific measures that you have in place to ensure that there is economic growth, one. Two, that there is safety and there's also an enabling environment. We want to interrogate your policies. We want to interrogate your strategies that will aim to ensure that in terms of Agenda 63, nobody's left behind. So we will be engaging so that at the end of the day, we get a clear understanding that you don't just have policies in place, but you have policies that talk to the issues on the ground so that those that are the phases of the informal economy are able to enjoy substantive equality in the true sense of the word. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you, Dr. Matutoka. All right, so as we've explained earlier, this process is governed by Section 12 of the Commission for Gender Equality Act. So the next item on the program is for the Legal Department's Acting Head of Department, Mr. Setsi Shuping, to take you through that Section 12 process in more detail.
Thank you, Program Director. Mine is to take us through the mandate of the Commission in detail. The Commission for Gender Equality is an independent statutory body established in terms of Chapter 9 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996. The powers and functions of the CGE are further outlined in the Commission for Gender Equality, Act 38 of 1996. Section 181 of the Constitution provides that the Commission is a state institution with the purpose of strengthening constitutional democracy in the Republic. It is independent and subject only to the Constitution and the law. It must be impartial and exercise its powers and perform its functions without fear, favor, or prejudice. Through legislative and other measures, the organs of state must assist and protect the Commission as well as other Chapter 9 institutions to ensure their independence, impartiality, dignity, and effectiveness. No person or organ of state may interfere with the functioning of the Chapter 9 institutions in the execution and furtherance of their mandate. The functions of the Commission for Gender Equality are outlined in Section 187 of the Constitution. It provides that the Commission must promote respect for gender equality and protection, development, and attainment of gender equality. The Commission has the power, as regulated by national legislation, necessary to perform its functions, including the power to monitor, investigate, research, educate, advise, and report on issues concerning gender equality. The Commission may make necessary recommendation to Parliament on legislation affecting the status of women and gender parity in South Africa in terms of Section 15 and Section 16 of the Commission for Gender Equality Act. In terms of Section 11, subsection 1A of the CGE Act, the Commission has the authority to monitor and evaluate practices and policies of, among others, public bodies, statutory bodies, private institutions as well. And it enables the Commission to investigate any complaint that it received or to initiate owner court investigations. In exercising its mandate, as per the legal process, the CGE utilizes the notice to appear, which carries legal implications. Unlike other stakeholder engagement where attendance is not compelled, this process requires enforcement and accountability. Section 12, subsection 4B of the Commission for Gender Equality provides that the Commission may require any person by a notice in writing underhand of a member of the Commission addressed and delivered by the Sheriff of the Court to appear before it at any time and place specified in the notice and to produce to it articles or documents in possession or custody or under control of such a person, provided that such a notice will contain reasons why such person's presence or article is required. The Commission may, through a member of the Commission, administer an oath or take affirmation from any person. Any person present, irrespective of whether they were required to appear and be questioned under oath or affirmation. Section 12, subsection 5 of the CGE Act provides that A person questioned shall be competent and compelled to answer all questions put to them regarding any fact or matter connected with the investigation, shall be competent and compelled to produce to the Commission any article or document in their possession or in custody or their control which may be necessary in connection with that investigation. Section 12, subsection 6 provides that any person appearing before the Commission might, by virtue of those provisions, be assisted at such examination by attorney or advocate or both. Section 18 provides for offenses and penalties. A person who, without just cause, refuses or fails to comply with a notice under Section 12, or refuse to take oath or affirmation as requested by the Commission, or refuse to answer questions put to them, or refuse or fail to furnish particulars or information required after having been sworn in or taking affirmation, gives false evidence before the Commission or any matter knowing such evidence to be false or knowing or believing it to be true, willfully interrupts the proceedings at an investigation or misbehaves in a manner and place where such investigation is held, defames the Commission or a member of the Commission in their capacity as a member in connection with this investigation, does anything which, if such investigation were proceeding in a court of law, will constitute contempt of court. The person shall be guilty of an offense and liable to a conviction to a fine of imprisonment for a period not exceeding 6 months. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Shuping. All right, we've now reached the point in the program where the CGE is going to give its presentation on its analysis of the information it received from the City of Tshwane. This presentation is going to take 2 parts. The first part will be conducted by Ms. Kutso Manapeo, who is the Gauteng Provincial Manager. She's going to talk on the analysis of the anecdotal research her office has conducted. And then the second part of the presentation will be conducted by Ms. Tshwane, who is the legal officer at the Gauteng office. She will take the delegation through the legal analysis of the information provided. Kutso.
Included the introduction and all. Can you start at the overview? I'm not going to talk to the purpose. I'm not going to talk to the things that the chairperson and the CEO has already alluded to. So I will go to the overview, then the preliminary findings, and then hand over to the legal officer for the analysis of the documentation we have received from Tshwane through correspondence. So can we go to the overview, please? Page 6. Yeah, slide 6, thank you. So maybe I should define what informal sector is to the context of why we are gathered here today. It actually refers to economic activities that are not registered with the government or with the city. This will then include self-employed individuals, small business owners, which are informal, and street vendors who operate without formal license or permits to sell goods such as fruits, vegetables, cooked meals, ready-made sandwiches, hairdressing, car washers, and packers, and many more. The 2022 census report underscores that Gauteng province has a population of 15 million, the highest number in the country. Out of this population, 2,565,000 people were recorded to be unemployed during the 4th quarter of the 2023-24 financial year. Of this, 10 to 15% operate in the informal sector. You can move the slide. While this sector provides for essential income and employment opportunities, it also presents with a lot of challenges. Workers in this sector typically lack social protection, job securities, and benefits, making them more vulnerable to economic shocks and poverty. Additionally, informal business often remain small and have limited access to finance, which can hinder economic growth and development. And also the precariousness of the sector is also exacerbated by the lack thereof. For this investigation, the provincial office engaged in an anecdotal research where it engaged informal traders operating in Sourceville Hostel, Marabastad, and the Pretoria CBD. The table below summarizes the disaggregated data of those that we have engaged. This anecdotal followed a random sampling wherein we just walked and engaged these traders. And then the age category, it ranged from 24 to 58 years of age. There were 15 in number, 10 females, 5 males. And then the literacy level, it is ranged from grade R to a diploma. Majority of them have attained or attended high school, with 5 in possession of grade 12. And the grade R, people who we found there are actually women, so which actually highlights that the literacy level among women is still something that we should still advocate for and explore, because we can't be having them at that level, whereas we having a program such as ABET and all those other things. So it was a worrisome finding to get to know that people are there with still that legal education or none at all. Experience in the sector, some of them had 3 months in the sector, and reason being, I was just recently retrenched. So actually the informal sector is act as a cushion to those who don't have employment, those who are retrenched, or those who are maybe retired. Then they will then go to the informal sector to try and make ends meet. And then others, then they have an experience in the sector up to 21 years. And then geographical area of origin, majority from Gauteng, followed by Limpopo, and 4 foreign nationals. And the nature of business, they sell fresh produce, hot cooked meals and snacks, poultry, dairy, fat cakes, dried nuts and beans, and many others that you will know that the informal traders are actually selling on the streets. And their operating hours ranges from 5 to 12 hours, with 1 or 2 of them saying we have to be here as early as 4 a.m. because we are selling fat cakes, and people start to buy this first cake at 6 until 9 o'clock. Others saying because of the division of labor in the household, I was supposed to be here at 4, but I cannot because I have to wait for the kids to go to school, and then that is affecting my profit. That is actually causing me to have a poverty of time. So that was also highlighted. So the build-up activities in preparation to this hearing was that we started with that anecdotal, then done analysis, then had a stakeholder engagement to say what are the other institutions doing to support this sector. We had the likes of CEDA, we had SERI, we had SACTs, which actually highlighted the work they do around this sector to ensure that they are actually promoting the growth of the sector, or supporting them, if I have to put it that way. And then the preliminary findings of the anecdotal research, it actually highlighted that bylaws are restrictive in practice, as they focus on what traders can and cannot do, rather than enabling them to grow their business, or rather than making them aware of the processes of how to attain a license or how to operate and all that. So it's not informative, but it's just restrictive. And then there's lack of conducive infrastructure provided by the city. Most of them don't have stalls. They even have to develop their own stalls through nets and other things. And then ablution facility was also an issue, to say we don't have toilets, or other toilets are not working. At Sourceville, they said we were using the toilets at the station, there's a station, the train station, but the station people saying you are not using our trains, why are you using our toilets? So we end up not knowing where to go when we need to relieve ourselves. And this has a gender implication, because if you have to think of, if I have to do number one, there's no way I can go around the house. But for someone else, it can be something very easy. So it is actually tempering on the human dignity of women than their male counterparts. And then the storage facilities. Those who are selling vegetables, they are even specific on the kind of storage they need, rather than those who are selling maybe dried nuts. With dried nuts, you don't need the refrigerator, you don't need this, you can just store it in a safe place. But for those selling fruits and vegetables, it needs to at least be preserved to a certain days, and that can only be done if they are put in a refrigerator, taken out in the morning to go and be sold there, and again save them in a space that will preserve them longer. And then enforcement actions like the impoundment of goods disproportionately affect women as opposed to men, as women already operate within limited resources and capital. So they end up not having anything, or rather the profit for that day, if the impoundment has actually taken place. And then women engaged in informal trading lack access to information or trade rules and custom procedures, which can lead them to trading without permits that expose them to risks such as violence, extortion, harassment, and being taken advantage of. Moreover, affiliation to the unregistered associations exacerbate the risks mentioned above. And then lack of access to funding. For out of the 15 we have actually engaged, only one woman said, I got funding from the city of Tshwane for me to buy the things I need for my business. That woman is selling fresh food, hot cooked meals. So he said, I got some fund so that I can buy this table you see here, the chairs and some gas stove. So out of 15, only one actually attested to that. The city of Tshwane has supported her. And again, she said, there was a training arranged by the city of Tshwane because I'm selling cooked meals, but I had to pay for it. I think I had to pay she said she had to pay 500 for her to get that training. I think it's training in relation to the OHS, which is offered by Tshwane through collaboration with the Department of Health. So they have to pay a fee for them to get that training. So that is what we got at the ground. And then restrictive issuing of permits per household, disadvantaged tenants residing in the same premises, which is ignorant to the socio-economic challenges faced by low-income earners in the province. Here you find that if you have the back shacks, which you are actually renting to your tenants, and you as the owner, you are having this permit, then when your tenant is going to apply for a permit, they will then say a permit has already been issued against this house number. Therefore, you cannot get a permit. And you find that in this yard, there are 4 or 5 families staying there, and all of them are actually in informal business. So that is another gap that we have identified while we were doing this anecdotal. Lack of information in respect of complaints procedure to be followed by the aggrieved traders. They don't know if there is a process to complain when the impounding is not in line with the laws, or what. They don't know how to complain. They just know their goods have to be impounded, but if they need to complain, they don't know the procedure thereof. So that is something that we also realize. And then they also highlighted negative impact of climate change on their trading day to day. The ones selling fresh produce will tell you, my tomatoes used to be there on the stall for so many days, but because of the heat that we're experiencing, they just last for a day or two and then they are rotten. So those are the kind of things. Hence, there is a need for the municipality to assist us with storage and so on. And then one will say, I was selling mopani worms, which was the most product that gave me more profit than the others, but because of the climate change conditions, I'm not getting them, or they are sold at a very high cost, which I can't afford. And then someone will say, Kujo, I don't know what I'm selling actually. I sell what I can afford. If I go to a fresh produce market and I'm having this amount of money, when I get tomatoes to be very high, I don't sell tomato for that week. I sell something that I afford. So I wish the government can have some subsidy towards us. When I buy a crate of tomatoes, then at least I know there's a subsidy because we are contributing to this GDP of this government. So those are the kind of things. And then I've already spoken about the unfair division of labor and the literacy level. And then now I'm going to hand over to the provincial legal officer to talk in detail to the analysis of the information submitted from the city of Tshwane. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Provincial Manager. I will then proceed with the second phase of the investigation led to a questionnaire being developed and dispatched to the city of Tshwane requesting written responses in relation to the empowerment of women in the informal sector economy. The city responded to the questionnaire and provided additional documents to substantiate their responses as well. The CG then analyzed the written responses submitted to determine the extent to which women in the informal sector within the city of Tshwane are empowered. Part of the request in our questionnaire requested for disaggregated data, which was disaggregated between the categories of sex, race, and disability of persons to whom the municipality has issued trading permits. This information is for the financial year of 2023-2024 financial year up to the end of Q1 of 2024-2025. As displayed on the table, and the projection, you will see that the disaggregated data is separated into 4 categories. It is the category of persons with disability, women, men, as well as foreign nationals. Within the category of persons with disability, you find that there's 1 African woman, 3 African men, and then the subtotal of 4 persons being issued with permits. In the category of women, you would find that there's 288 African women, 8 white women, 3 colored women, 1 Indian woman, with a subtotal of 300. In the category of men, you would find that there's 166 African men, 6 white men, 3 colored men, 3 Indian men, as with a subtotal of 178. Then you have your category of foreign nationals, which was divided in with a gender category of 5 women and 15 men, with a subtotal of 20. In total, the disaggregated data amounted to 502 permits being issued. As the above table illustrates, the total number of persons with disabilities issued with trading permits in the city is 4. Sorry, I've done that. So I'm just going to move to the analysis part of the disaggregated data. These statistics illustrate that most of the persons issued with permits in the informal trading sector are women, and most of them are African women. However, more men with disability as well as foreign nationals who are men are issued with the same permits than women falling within these 2 demographics. Notwithstanding the above information, the CG has observed a discrepancy in relation to the general total number of informal traders provided by the city, which indicated that the initial submission that we had received from Tshwane had a total of 841 persons being issued with permits. But when we did the calculation, we actually realized that the disaggregated information set in table 1 is actually a total of 502 and not 841, leaving a discrepancy of 339, which is the number that is outstanding from the actual total we received from Tshwane. Our questionnaire also had a section of economic growth and empowerment in terms of the Business Act 71 of 1991, which is the national legislation that governs and empowers the municipality to promulgate bylaws. The section then, the Act then states that certain activities must be done under a license. The empowering provision is section 6, subsection 1(6) of the Business Act, which empowers the province to make regulation regarding the powers, duties, and functional of local authorities in relation thereto. In this response, in terms of compliance, the city submitted that it complies with section 6, subsection 1 by virtue of having the street trading bylaw in effect, wherein informal trading permits are issued in compliance thereof. In addition, the city issues business permits in line with the town planning schemes. To support the submission made, the city provided copies of the street trading bylaw as well as the Business Act. The second part in terms of compliance was in relation to the integrated gender equality and women empowerment policy framework that the city had highlighted in the IDP plan that was passed in May 2024. In relation to this question, we had asked the city whether measures within this policy had actually been integrated into the bylaw. The city then submitted that it does not have such a policy in place. The section of compliance also asked questions in relating to requirements to lease land or a stall for informal traders to conduct their trade. The city then submitted that as part of the application, they require identity documentation, which is a valid SA South African ID, or a foreign applicable documentation, compulsory attendance of the street bylaw workshop. For stall infrastructure or land availability, the land or stall must be in a demarcated trading area, and the market-related payment will be determined as rental. And then the city then provided us with an application document, which was Annexure F. In terms of mandatory requirements to obtain a permit for informal traders associated with the fees of such permit, the city submitted that the applicant must be over the age of 18 years, provide a copy of the identity document as well, and then they must provide proof of residency. It continued to say that there are fees for different categories of trading permits, and also indicated that these fees were gazetted tariffs. The commissioners observed from the submission that the city merely mentions that there are fees for different categories for trading and gazette tariffs, but does not provide supporting documentation in respect of the gazetted fees or how the different categories are being adopted. Our questionnaire also had a category in terms of support and assistance to be provided to informal traders. The city submitted that it conducts business compliance and bylaw awareness workshops for informal traders, which are compulsory for first-time applicants for issuing permits to ensure that they are privy to the laws that govern informal trading. The objection of the workshop is to educate informal traders on compliance of relevant regulation and laws governing informal trade, including areas demarcated for informal trading. In support of the submission, the city provided the commission with a copy of the Economic Development and Special Planning Department Business Compliance Regulation booklet, which states the rules of compliance. However, the disaggregated data that we had requested in terms of this policy was not provided by the city. Within the same category, the city indicated that it facilitates skills and business development support services in collaboration with its partners, like the Small Enterprise Development Agency, SEDA, and the Department of Small Business and Development. These support services, amongst others, include a recent training on food safety and handling, a recent training on food safety and handling to informal traders, which covered food manufacturing practices, food safety hazards, food poisoning, and business skills training. Other initiatives such as capacity building initiatives aimed at improving entrepreneurship and business practices are also included within the same service. The city provided a copy of a memorandum of understanding between itself and SEDA. Thirdly, within the same category, the city was given a question in respect of other supports in terms of infrastructure. The city submitted that it facilitates access to infrastructure for informal traders at specific designated areas by providing trading stalls, storage facilities, ablution facilities, electricity, and demarcated stalls on the side of the road. But it indicated that it shouldn't be within 5 meters of any intersection as defined in Regulation 322 of the National Road Traffic Act 93 of 1996. The city provided an example to say that amongst these stalls that have been constructed by the city to date and made available to informal traders for their occupation and usage include those at Marabastad, Mapopane Station, Littleton Station, Sawsville Station, Lodium CBD, and many more. Furthermore, the city issued permits and licenses to informal traders to operate municipal-run markets. Thirdly, in the same category, in terms of, excuse me, that's just a duplicate. Sorry for that. Lastly, in the same category, the city submitted that in facilitating access to the market, informal traders are provided with permits to trade at major events such as soccer matches, music festivals, government events, and air shows as part of facilitating access to markets. In support, the city provided copies of the informal trade requirement documents, Safety at Sports and Recreations Act of 2010, and the JOC events meeting. However, the city did not go in enough detail in giving us which activities were actually held and how these activities actually empowered persons in terms of their disaggregated data. Within the same category of economic development, the city was asked questions in respect of the IDP Plan May 2024, in respect of gender mainstreaming. The Commission had requested the city to provide current policies in place that deal with their integrated gender economic and women empowerment strategic policy framework act and its action plan. That was not provided by the city. The special planning and land use management bylaw was only provided in relation to a declaration of the demarcated areas restricted and prohibited in terms of trade. The skills development and economic transformation of informal traders was only provided in respect of the informal trading bylaw, as well as the attachment of the memorandum of understanding, apologies for that, with CEDA. In terms of funding of skills development initiatives to assist informal traders in expanding their business, the city did not provide us anything in that regard. And we also asked for any other external policies or programs that seek to promote women empowerment. The city did not provide that either. In terms of, we then posed the question to the city to ask in terms of their gender management system, which was also an initiative that was highlighted in the IDP Plan May of 2024. We asked a question as to whether the gender management system is being used in terms of tracking women empowerment within the disaggregated data they provided. The city said the gender management system is not applicable, despite its mandate that it was despite its mandate in the IDP plan of May 2024. Nevertheless, it submitted that it uses the gender management system as a tool and has strived to support women empowerment initiatives that seek to drive economic emancipation of women. An example of this is the annual hosting of the Women's Month function, within which the city provides logistics support in the form of a venue. During this event, women in the informal trading space discuss opportunities and challenges they are confronted with, and what can be done to alleviate these challenges and seize the opportunities. In support of this, the city provided the MOU between itself and CEDA. Notwithstanding the submission, the Commission observes that the city did not provide submissions on how the system is being used in order for the Commission to critically analyze its effectiveness in respect of promoting gender equality. In the category of providing a conducive environment in terms of the Special Planning and Land Use Management Act 16 of 2013, the empowering provision is section 25. I will not be reading it in detail. It basically just outlines how the municipality should create a special planning in forms of promoting economic growth, social inclusion, efficient land development, and the minimal impact on public health, the environment, and its natural resources. The city submitted that it is in compliance with section 25. It has demarcated, apologies for that. It has designated areas for informal traders across the city in accordance to the section. In support of this, it provided a copy of its declaration report, which indicated areas that have been declared as restricted for trading areas and those that have been declared as prohibited from being trading areas. In our questionnaire, we then asked the city how did they determine the situation analysis in terms of demarcating those areas. The city then submitted that it does it through their GIS mapping by analyzing and identifying potential trading areas. stakeholder engagements by consulting informal traders and business organization, the Land Use Management Act, the declaration report of 2nd August. I think there's a bit of an error. I think it's 2001, not 1999. It's 2001, apologies for that error, which declared areas across Pretoria as restricted or prohibited for carrying on business of street trading. Furthermore, in terms of how the situation analysis was adopted to determine potential economic robustness for informal traders, the city submitted that informal traders are generally located in areas where there's already critical mass in terms of footprint, and then they give examples such as taxi ranks, stations, busy areas, and etc. And thus, the demarcated trading areas are always robust economically, and the physical sustainability of informal traders are almost always secured. The public participation is conducted with informal traders. In support of this, the city submitted the declaration report I indicated earlier. However, the Commission observes that the response submitted by the city gives the impression that these areas were demarcated in respect of an outdated document regulating special planning within the city. The apparent lack of review and updating of the existing standard procedures and inadequate innovative mechanisms to cater for factors that have led to economic changes and the increase of informal trade is concerning. In respect of providing a safe environment for informal traders, the questions were posed at the city. The questions indicated that considering the scourge of crime and GBV in the country, the city submitted measures that they have adopted in terms of providing safety measures, which include partnerships with SAPS, TMPD, private security, and CID to protect women. Programs like women empowerment have been mentioned in their responses without providing details. Additionally, the city submitted that it has made efforts to ensure sufficient lighting in trading areas where informal traders operate and has implemented several measures like police patrol, either on foot or vehicles, as well as community police forums having collaborative efforts between the police and TMPD. Lastly, in respect of ablution facilities, the city submitted that the problem with ablution facilities in the city is widespread and does not only affect informal traders, but rather the city's broader citizenry. Nonetheless, in respect of waste management, the city submitted that its waste management employs several ways to clean and maintain informal trading areas by collecting waste on a daily basis and cleaning at night. Furthermore, the city provides dustbins in areas to enable the informal traders to maintain hygiene and prevent littering or land pollution. The observations in this regard from the Commission is that although the Commission appreciates that safety mechanisms have been put in place to ensure protection of women, it is unable to analyze the said safety measures or programs as comprehensive details in that regard have not been provided in support of that submission. For instance, we did not receive information on how regularly the police and TMPD patrol, the nature of the collaborative relationship between the city and private city and CID, including practical examples of how these measures have been successful or at least reduced occurrence of violence incidents against women in the informal trading sector were not provided by Tshwane. Furthermore, the city has not provided interim measures it has in place to address the issue of ablution facilities, taking in consideration that the municipality has a constitutional and statutory mandate to provide basic water and sanitation to its citizens. In addition, failure to provide the inadequate services in this regard is deemed a violation of basic human rights, which the Commission is highly concerned about. In conclusion, overall, while the city complies with national legislation governing the informal trading sector and has several initiatives that indirectly support gender equality, there's more need for explicit integration of gender equality policies and targeted support for women in the informal trading sector. Thank you.
All right, thank you to Khomi and to Kotso as well for that presentation. All right, we've now reached the point in the program where we are going to hear from the City of Tshwane. The City of Tshwane is going to deliver their presentation. As Mr. Shiping explained earlier, that has to be done under oath. So I'm going to call the representative from the City of Tshwane to please come to the front. The City of Tshwane is represented today by Mr. Johan Metler. Mr. Shiping will deliver the oath or affirmation to Mr. Metler, and then you'll be able to deliver your presentation.
Thank you. Just for administering the oath, for the record, please state your names.
Johan Metler.
Would you like to take an oath or affirmation?
Oath.
Please repeat after me and say, I, name and surname.
I, Johan Metler.
Do hereby make oath and state.
Do hereby make oath and state.
I know and understand the contents of the declaration I'm about to deliver.
I know and understand the contents of the declaration I'm about to deliver.
I have no objection to taking the prescribed oath.
I have no objection to taking the prescribed oath.
I consider the prescribed oath to be binding on my conscience.
I consider the prescribed oath to be binding on my conscience.
Please raise your right hand and say, I swear that the contents of this declaration are true.
I swear that the contents of this declaration are true.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, Chairperson. The deponent is duly sworn in.
Thank you very much. Program Director and members of the Commission. I will make a few introductory remarks and then I will hand over to my colleague Dr. Benjamin Manashwe, who will then also take the required oath. We have, just firstly, I would imagine that there would be an expectation that we would also respond to some of the analysis. In that regard, I do want to make the point that we did not have insight into the analysis so that we can be adequately prepared. So when we do comment on it, and I just want to just make the point, when we comment on it, we will do so to the best of our ability and to the best of our knowledge. And I would also request that we provide supplementary information, as you have indicated, Chair, to the committee so that the presentation that we have been given can then be given additional context in the light of the analysis comments that were made. And I make this comment specifically because I am aware that we're under oath and under a possible penal sanction in the event that the information is not absolutely or substantially correct. So that's the first point that I would like to make. The second is that as a municipality, there are many expectations from our residents, and we then comply with national policy, but we also comply with our own policy. And in as much as I'm the accounting officer, I am part of the administrative executive. In other words, when we have policy and bylaws, that policy and bylaws is then approved by our mayoral executive committee, which is the political executive, and then there's also the council. The council is like Parliament, our legislature, and it is then on the basis of that approved policy that that myself as the accounting officer, with my administration, then go about implementing policy and executive or execute executive orders as the case may be. So as far as accounting, I suppose the point that I would also stress that I also do account to that political executive. So that if there is accounting to do to a structure above us, it should, and it is just my view that there should also then be accountability also from that layer of government as opposed to only the executive. The very last point that I would like to make is that, and it's a much more recent phenomenon. We are a city that take in about 10,000 foreign nationals every month. There are about 30,000 that comes through, and of those 30, about 10,000 find their way in the city. So quite recently, if you take the recent events into consideration, with the spaza shops, etc. We are just this morning. We have okay. Just this morning we have then also looked at a new street trading bylaw. I think Benjamin, if you can just refer to that very briefly, because it was not part of the presentation. But there is a street trading bylaw that would go for public consultation in the foreseeable future. It's going to go to this council of the 28th, Thursday, 28th. Then it will go for public consultation, and I would request your researchers to also get hold of that draft document and also give your input into that, because it also deals with spaza shops, the very same issues that you're raising, and the requirements of qualifying to practice a spaza shop within the city of Tshwane. So I do think that is something which we can then engage in during that course of public consultation. Chairperson, then with those introductory comments, I would like to hand over to my colleague, Dr. Benjamin Manaswe. I have asked him to also just to comment on some of the issues, but I have made it clear to him that because we are under oath, that we should, if you're not sure, to state that, and then to ask for additional opportunity to submit information. Thank you, Chair. Okay, that is fine. Thank you. Benjamin, are you going to come here?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chairperson and members of the Commission, City Manager and colleagues. Firstly, let me start by apologizing that we wrote your name incorrectly on our slides. Yeah, apologies. From the city for such an error. Chairperson, firstly, I don't know how you want me to really go through the presentation, because colleagues, I think they've done a very excellent job in terms of analyzing the submission they've made. But I'll try my level best to not go into a lot of details on some of the things that they've touched on. But just to talk to the research which was done, which was presented by the provincial manager on the issues which, I mean, talks to the state of informal trading in the city. I just want to respond quickly on some of those issues. Chair?
I was going to say, have a free rein, because you are here to respond and to make your case. So don't worry about how we want it.
No problem. No, it's fine. Thank you very much. Allow me just to start by responding to the presentation made by the provincial chair, because some of those things, I mean, which you spoke to are not part of the presentation. But obviously, if I don't have an immediate response, I mean, I'll say so, and then we'll be able to provide details, I mean, to the commission. The first issue which was mentioned is that, I mean, the bylaws of the city are restrictive to informal traders. I think that's one of the first issues which was raised by the provincial chair. Just to mention that, I mean, the current informal street trading bylaw of the city actually is way outdated. As a city, we are, as the city managers mentioned, I mean, we are engaging in a process now to ensure that by end of this week, I mean, you've got the bylaw which the council will approve for public participation, and then we'll ensure that at least by February, March of next year, we'll have a new bylaw which will cover two main issues. I mean, informal trade across the city, as well as the township economy in general. That bylaw is in line with the draft bylaw which was released by the Minister of Culture early in the month. The other issue is around the infrastructure, trading infrastructure of the informal traders. Just to mention that the commission that since COVID, the size of the sector has actually trebled. And unfortunately, the resources of the city have been, are very low. And the city finds it difficult really to provide infrastructure to everyone at the moment. I mean, we are trying a level best through our fiscals to try and make sure that we build infrastructure for all the traders, but the resources are not sufficient to build for everyone. But just to mention that we are engaging with our private sector partners to assist us in doing that. Currently, I mean, there is work. I mean, a project which we will be starting with a partnership with the DECO, with the National Department of International Relations, as well as some private sector partners such as Coke, to provide some informal trading structures for our traders. But unfortunately, just to mention to the commission that that will not be sufficient given the size of the informal trading in the city. And what we do generally is that we, in most cases, will provide them a demarcated trading space, and then they come with either their gazebos and other stuff so that they can be able to trade. But we are trying a level best, despite those issues, to try and make sure that we support them as much as possible. The issues of abolition facilities, I think, is correct. There is a challenge, and then we'll definitely, make sure that we address those issues. But like I'm saying, because of the size of the sector and where our traders are located, it might be difficult to provide abolition for everyone. Some of them, are located in areas which are not demarcated by the city as trading areas, and it might be difficult to do that. But where there is, in areas where the city has demarcated as trading areas, we try our level best, through city manager, make sure that there is abolition facilities and for everyone. But I've noted that issue, and we'll try and make sure that we address those in other areas like issues of Atteridgeville, because I know Sourceville trading areas, I know there's a need for maintenance there, an upgrade of the facility. That might be the reason why the traders there are using the PRASA facilities, is because of just maintenance of our facilities. Storage facility is a serious challenge in the city. And again, it's because of the reason I've just explained around the size of the sector, that is a bit difficult to provide storage for everyone. But we do have storage facilities where they are, trading facilities. But I agree that that is not sufficient at the moment, and it's something that we'll definitely have to take note of. The issue of funding, that one is a serious issue. I mean, as a city, we don't offer financial support to SMMEs and informal traders. We don't have that facility as a city. But what we do, we engage with our sister organizations at national and provincial level to assist our traders. For example, the Department of Small Business Development will come in and offer gazebos, offer cooking items to our traders, fridges and stoves and all those things. And we are doing that on continuous basis to ensure that we support our traders. In the last 4 years, I think we're lucky to receive 2 such support from Department of Small Business. But unfortunately, because of funding as well, they go to other parts of the country as well to ensure that other municipalities also receive the same support. But where there is an opportunity for us to get funding for informal traders, we definitely do that. And we work across, engage with number of traders, so the number of organizations to try and address that issue. I think you raised the issue around that some of the traders paid 500 rand for training on food safety. I think that one I'll have to double check with colleagues from health. But I know that they are paying for issuing of the certificate, but I'm not sure about if they are paying for training as well. I think I'll have to confirm that and we'll respond back to the committee on that. But what we did, I think in the analysis from the legal officer, she mentioned that we did partner with CEDA to provide training to informal traders around food safety issues, and something that we are continuing with. And that's a free training that we are offering with CEDA. But I'll have to check with health, our internal Department of Health, if that is really correct or not. The issues around subsidy to traders, I think I've already mentioned that at the moment, we don't have the funding mechanism to support our SMMEs in the city or informal traders in the city. And it's something that obviously we'll have to check and see how can we do that going forward in terms of assisting them to grow and develop. I think those are some of the issues which I've captured from the provincial manager. I'll then take you through the presentation, and in my presentation I'll then also respond to some of the things which were raised by the legal officer in her presentation. No, thank you very much. I think what was raised on this slide is that there was an error in calculations. I think we made an error in terms of tallying the figures, but the figures they are as they are for the 2023-24 financial year, also including the first quarter of this financial year. And this number, Chair, is very low. If 500 licenses issued in the informal trading size of the city of Tshwane, the numbers are very low, which means that there's a lot of illegal trading within the city. Most of the traders who are trading in the city, they don't have a trading license. Actually, this is not even, I don't even think it's about 20% of the traders within the city's borders. But I think we'll just have to tally the numbers correctly. I think there was a mistake when the colleagues were calculating the numbers. It looks, okay. In terms of the economic empowerment and growth around the Business Act, what is happening? The Business Act 71 of 1991 is the one which gives us the powers as a municipality around regulating the informal trading space. But currently, as you are aware, the Minister of Culture, issued the standard draft bylaw for township economies. That's an additional pieces of law which gives us the responsibility as municipalities around how we need to manage and the issues of informal trading. But here we're saying that the act it's not really prescriptive in terms of the license application procedure. Even the standard, even the standard bylaw for township economies, it's not really prescriptive to say this is what must happen. But as municipalities, through our bylaw, we then clearly explain in terms of the procedure and the requirements of applying for trading licenses. But again, we are saying that these procedures are set out under the local government bylaw applicable in the area where the business is located and where the activities requiring license are to take place. Because like what is happening is that through the city's bylaw, we then demarcate the trading areas where trading will be allowed and not allowed. And then, we'll issue licenses against, those demarcated areas. But because of the high unemployment rate in the city or in the country in general, we'll see, people coming in, wanting to engage in informal trading activities, but unfortunately they don't have space within the allocated areas, and people then trade wherever they see and they see they deem it fit for them to undertake in the business activity. Furthermore, the Act says that Section 6.1 C of the Act says that in connection with any matter contained in the paragraph A and B, the powers, duties, and functions of local authorities are 1, except in the case of matter refers in paragraph B, A, and E, the power to make bylaws in respect of therefore, and so to enact, subject to the provisions of this Act, such panel, differential, and exempting provisions as may be deemed necessary. Formal requirements regarding the making and approval and also of the bylaws. Because what is happening within this Act, the Business Act, it clearly outlines the roles of the municipality, what the municipality must do around the approvals of the bylaws, and also, as I've mentioned, the latest now piece of law is the standard bylaw for township economies issued by Minister of Culture. The next question was, has the municipality complied with this provision? If yes, kindly provide all policies relating to this provision. I think yeah. Then we said yes, the municipality has complied with this provision. The city has passed, a street trading bylaw. Unfortunately, this bylaw was passed in 2003. I think you just mentioned in the presentation that our bylaws are outdated, and there was a process which began about 6 years ago to review the bylaw, but it took over number of years to get the bylaw reviewed, because I think in the last, since 2018, the city has been having number of change in administration, which made it difficult for us to get the bylaw approved. I think the bylaw, the current bylaw, which is going to cancel city manager on Thursday, it went to 2 councils before. It went to council, came back, we went out in public participation, COVID came in, and then we had challenges, then we had to take it back again. Because we had to take it back again, it came back, it went through a lot of legal revisions, and then we advised again that because of the time it took, we must go back to public participation. And while we were in that process, then the standard bylaw was issued by Minister of Culture. Then we had to incorporate all the proposals from the bylaw into the new bylaw, so that it is inclusive of the provisions of the standard bylaw. Question 2.2, it says, are there measures included in the integrated gender equality and women empowerment policy framework integrated into bylaws that regulate informal trading? If yes, kindly provide a copy of the said bylaw and any relevant policy implemented in conjunction with the informal trading bylaw. We're saying that, in the bylaw, we don't have a provision which which actually clearly state that women will be done to, this support will be provided to women. Because what we're saying in the bylaw is about generally supporting of informal and township businesses. I think even in the current bylaw, the proposed bylaw, city manager, we are not explicit about women per se. I think maybe something that we need to look at and make a provision in the bylaw to try and make sure that we are clear in terms of the support we'll provide to women. question 2.3, I mean, it says, does the municipality contract business compliance and awareness workshop for informal traders? If so, kindly provide supporting documents that detail how this is done and disaggregate data to this effect. Yes, we do conduct, business compliance and awareness workshops. What is happening is that when an informal trader applies for a license or a permit, before that permit is even issued, they have to attend the business compliance and awareness workshop. They have to. That's the first requirement for them to do, because they must understand the provisions of the bylaw. That's the first workshop which we give them. But obviously, on continuous basis, we then offer refresher workshops so that they understand what are the requirements for trading. And we are saying that these workshops are aim to educate informal traders on compliance, awareness, and also areas which are declared for trading and areas which are not declared for trading. And we've submitted, our supporting document as an extra C to the documents we have submitted. The next question is about, does the municipality facilitate skills development and business development services for informal traders? If so, kindly provide the supporting documents that detail how this is done and disaggregate data to this effect. Maybe before I even talk to what we said here, just to mention to the commission that normally informal traders or informal trading is a one man or one women business. And even when we organize this kind of training workshops for them, it becomes difficult for a person to leave their trading space and come and attend a workshop for half a day or even more. Earlier, I think around 2017-18, we had the resources to make sure that at least when they come to this kind of training, we will give them something just to try and close the gap in terms of the daily loss that they'll have made. But lately, because of budget constraint in the city manager, we are unable to do that. I think since the last 5 years, we can't do that, and that makes it difficult for them to come and attend some of these workshops. But yes, we have this partnership with CEDA, where we provide business development services to our traders. And the latest one, which I've already spoke about, is a food safety and handling workshop, which was conducted to traders. And that happened, I think, already last year, to try and make sure that informal traders who are engaging in food handling businesses, they understand what the requirements are, and so that they can be able to apply for certificate of acceptability and ensure that they run their businesses profitably. So, but also we've got a partnership with CEDA, and also we work in partnership with the Department of Small Business Development to engage and provide enterprise development support to our traders. But like I said, the challenge is that issue that most of them are unable to attend because of that issue. Question 2.5: does the municipality facilitate access to infrastructure for informal traders? If so, kindly provide supporting documents. Yes, we do. The number of stalls which the city has built over time, they are all over. The borders of the city. We've got one we did not include Bronxpet, yes, included here. We've got a number of them. The latest one, which we have just built, is in Marabastad. I'm not sure if the committee, when they were in Marabastad, they went to that facility. It's a new facility which was concluded last year, with all the requirements the requirements as per the request of the traders. But unfortunately, it is not enough, as I've said, because of the size of the informal trading in the city. We need more of those. But in addition to this, these trading stalls, when developers are developing new centers or new malls, we engage with them so that when they build taxi ranks, they have to include stalls for traders. if you go to most of the malls in the city, they've got a tax rank and a trading facility for workers in the malls, and that we do. Like I said, also we also engaging with private sector partners to assist us in building in building the stalls. And currently, DECO with their triple PE partner, they have committed a funding of about 20 million to build 20 stalls in Marabastad and in Yesteres and also in Mamelodi, and those will be rolled out in the next 2-3 years. DECO, yes, DECO, yeah. They've got their triple PE partner in Bumba. Question 2.6, it says that does the municipality facilitate access to markets for informal traders? Yes, we do. All the sporting events and events in any other events in the city, we go and make sure that traders are afforded an opportunity to come and sell. We issue them with 1 day trading permits for them to be able to sell on during those sporting activities, and that we do to try and make sure that they're able to get access to market. This was one of the things we are doing as a city. This one, there was a question to say provide copies of the municipality's current policies and programs in place that deal with gender issues. I think you said that we did not respond to that. I think we'll have to go and look at that, because there is our gender office in the city which deals with gender issues. I think we'll try and get the policy and submit to the city, to the committee. The issue around the strategic planning and land use management act, not the bylaw, actually is an act. The Spluma Act, I think that I think was submitted. We can also submit to you, the city's land use management scheme, which comes out of the Spluma as the bylaw of the city. The other one around the skills development and economic transformation in informal traders, definitely this one we don't have a policy around that. But just to mention that in the proposed informal trading and township economy a bylaw which is going to cancel on Thursday, it is clearly expelled out in terms of the role of the city on informal trading. And one of those responsibilities is around skills development and market access. Issues around the funding of skills development initiatives to assist informal traders in expanding their businesses. We have, like I said, we have, I'm not sure, I think you said that the information was not submitted. We have a partnership with CEDA, which is our enterprise development support partner to assist small businesses to grow their businesses. And that partnership, we can be able to make it, I think you can make it available to yourselves. And any other policies and programs that seek to promote women empowerment, I think we'll as I've mentioned that we've got a women office or section in the city, we can be able to share those documents with yourselves. Question 2.8, does the city have a gender management system in place? I think here, I think as a department, we did not consult with our sister departments, and I think city manager will go back and check with our colleagues in the gender office if that is there, and then we can be able to provide the relevant and supporting documents to the committee. And also talking to item number 2.9 as well, I think I'll give the same response to that issue. Question 3 talks about the conducive environment. It says Section 25 of the Spatial Planning Act of Spluma requires that the land use scheme give effect to and be consistent with the municipal planning framework and determine the use and development of land within municipal area to which it relates to relates in order to promote economic growth, social inclusion, efficient land development, and minimal impact on the public health and the environment and the natural resources. It further states that a land use scheme must include scheme regulations setting out the procedures and conditions relating to the use development of land in any zone. I think this one, Chair, I think I've mentioned that we, as a city, I mean, all development in the city are managed through the SPLUMA as a primary, policy in South Africa around land use. But also as a city, we've got our land use management scheme, which was approved by the city, which is in line with the SPLUMA, and every development in the city has to comply with that. And what we did, on the proposed bylaw, which is going to council on Thursday, we've included a chapter which talks to that effect around the issue of land use. 3.1, it says, has the municipality demarcated a designated area for informal traders to trade to promote inclusive economic development in the context of Section 35? Yes, we have done that. And I think in the feedback which was given by our legal officer, she did mention that our demarcation, declaration report is old. We agree, and it's something that post the approval of the bylaw will then submit a declaration policy to council, which will be in line with the new bylaw. Then that will be in line with the new bylaw. And this issue, obviously, in terms of what analysis was done to determine the demarcated area, this is what we followed. But as I've mentioned, once the new bylaw is approved, we'll go through a new process now to determine what other new areas will be demarcated, because the city has grown over time. There are new economic nodes in the city. There's a need for new demarcated areas which will be demarcated for trading. And that will be done accordingly. Question 3.3, how is this analysis adopted to determine the potential economic robustness for formal traders? Currently provide supporting documents to this effect. And we're saying that obviously, the city, the traders are placed in areas where there are footprints, where there is, a potential market for them. And like I said earlier, once we review the policy, there'll be new areas. There are new malls, there are new shopping centers, there are new residential areas which came up in the city in the last few years. And obviously, we'll look at those areas and then determine where the trading will be allowed in those areas. In line with the SPLUMA and other relevant legislations which governs land use in the city. And in terms of requirements for trading, these requirements, they were at the time, but in terms of the new proposed bylaw, there are additional requirements which we are looking at, and those obviously will go through public participation, and if there's a general agreement about those requirements, we'll include them. Because some of them, here it was only about you must have an identity document, you must have attended the compliance workshop, there must be a stall or a trading space which is available, and also you must pay for the rental of that particular space. And also, these are additional requirements. As issues around the age in terms of the Children's Act, the issues of identity documents, and the proof of residence as well. Oh, sorry, my apologies about that. I didn't move the slides. Then the next question is 3.6 is saying, with the sketch of gender-based violence in the country, as well as the municipality having adopted measures in accordance with the above-mentioned IDP plan, what safety and security measures or programs has the city put in place to ensure the safety of the women traders? We are saying that in partnership with SAPS, the police, our Metro Police Department, private security and CIDs, because in some areas the city has CIDs, and one of the responsibilities of the city improvement district is to make sure that we provide safety to our traders. And I think you raised a concern around ensuring that these measures are they really sufficient to protect the women? And I think we'll look at this issue and make sure that we address it. The other one is that if the informal trading areas are sufficiently lit, we are saying yes, but in general, most of these traders, they trade during the day. Also early hours of the morning. But the east, we don't have generally we don't have night markets in Tshwane. Those are day markets, but some of them trade until around 7 or 8. While the taxis and the buses are still moving, and they also start early in the morning. Are there areas of panic and police officers that patrol the area to guard their safety? There are police, visibility, but obviously there are still challenges there. City manager, I think we need to address, mainly on the areas where we have demarcated for trading. Obviously we can't, like I said, some of them, they are operating outside of the trading areas. It's going to be very difficult for us to really provide, security for them. But in areas which are demarcated for trading, we are definitely doing that. 3.9, are there sufficient for informal traders? And what ratio scale does the city use to determine whether the number of restrooms are sufficient currently provide? I think this one is about the abolition facilities, and I've already mentioned that there is a challenge around that issue, and then we'll try and make sure that we address these issues. Mainly in areas where we've got our own trading facilities, we'll make sure that those abolition facilities within those stalls are maintained and they're maintained and they're in a good working conditions. The question is now, how does the municipality clean these areas? Currently, these areas are cleaned by colleagues from Department of Agriculture and Environment, and also we've got our EPWP employees who are assisting us to clean the areas, but also we encourage the traders to make sure that they also don't just litter. If in our bylaw, street trading bylaw, the current bylaw, it's clear in terms of the responsibilities of traders that they must keep their trading spaces clean. And normally we'll provide dustbins for them to be able to throw in the litter in those dustbins. But the challenge with our traders is most of them, what they do, they don't clean their spaces, or when they clean, they dump the waste in most cases in our drainage systems. And that's where the challenge is, because they don't want to carry the responsibility of disposing those the waste at the end of the shift. Question 3.10 is about, has the municipality provided dustbins in these areas to enable traders to maintain hygiene and prevent littering? We're saying yes, we have done that. And in some cases, when resources are there, we also provide the black plastics for them to throw in the waste as well. I think that's the last slide. Thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity.
All right, thank you, Dr. Manaso. All right, we are now going to begin the question and answer phase of our hearing. And what I propose we do is we do this in 2 rounds. The first round will be questions posed by the commissioners, and then the City of Tshwane can answer those questions. And then the second round will do the questions from the CGE staff. All right, Chairperson, I'll hand over to you to do the ask questions.
Whilst I'm still looking for my questions, I don't know where they are. Whilst I'm still looking for my questions, I've got some that are front of mind. Number one, when you train, why don't you address don't you ever get the question? Because you said you train and you do refresher courses. Don't you ever get questions from people raising the issue of abolition? And I just don't understand how it is that there could be so much money being put into this and still there are no abolition facilities. That's a basic right. Section 11 of the Constitution, dignity. Section 10, human dignity, yeah. But I also just want you to break down for us the relationship that you have with CEDA. Because you have said there's an MOU that you have included. There's somewhere where CEDA for their training are paid 800,000. I could be misunderstanding. That's close to $1 million in my books. Why are you taking it back to CEDA? Or I don't know if maybe you're trying to capture the worth of the training. So if you could just maybe explain that. How can my questions just disappear like that? Sorry. 4, 5. All right. Then you said something about foreign applicable documentation. What is that? If you could clarify for us. And then it was mentioned that you've got one of your responses, you said fees for different trade categories. You don't have to tell us now the actual fees, but if you could break it down for us in terms of categories. And then you said something that disturbed me. What do you mean by, you said you provide dustbins to maintain hygiene. That's waste management. We were talking about them not being able to relieve themselves, not being able to change their sanitary wear, not being able to go to the bathroom. What do you do with those? Yeah, and lastly, Spluma. Spluma has failed. That is why half of Garangua is actually being, some warlords are selling the land illegally and nobody can do anything about it. I can go now and come back with a huge plot. Spluma has failed. So it's worrying, and if you still are relying on Spluma. Spluma has failed across the country. If Spluma was successful, we would not have informal settlements. If Spluma was successful, we would not be having a situation where, serviced sites have been reduced to informal settlements. In fact, I think Tshwane accounts for some of the highest informal settlements in Gauteng. I'm not sure, I'm open to correction there. So I want us to go deeper, and commissioners feel free, and colleagues, to scratch the surface, because this whole thing, we've got Spluma, what, no, Spluma has failed. So tell us more about how we intend to do. I know these are some of the standard answers that get given. Spluma has failed. I honestly would like to say I'm refusing to accept the Spluma answer. And then you said something about even the executive has got to come here and answer. Yes, the executive can come here and answer, but I just want to clarify one thing, and which people do not understand, and after that I will keep quiet and give to my colleagues. The people of South Africa, every 5 years, in terms of section 1 or 2 somewhere there, their right to express their public representatives, go to the polls and choose those representatives. Those representatives then, based on the Constitution, set up the entire infrastructure as you see it, including the commissions and everything, to say this is what has to be done, including municipalities, etc. You, on the other hand, and us to some extent, then get called by those public representatives who, through a free and fair process, have been chosen to say, you go and run Tshwane. I'm simplifying it, but I just want to bring it there. You go and set up an institution to set up our democracy. You go and provide electricity through whatever means that are there, and ESCOM is set up. You know, all of those things. And therefore, when you are here at their behest. They are not a separate entity. So I just want to clarify it can't be let them come and answer. No, you are sent here by them. People may not respect them. People may not think much of them. Some may be uneducated. I don't know. But all of us are here as a result. In fact, it is so all of us to a point that even the president of the country goes to those representatives and say, choose me as the president, and they say yes. And afterwards, on behalf of those people, and therefore on behalf of the people of South Africa, on behalf of the representatives, and therefore on behalf of the people of South Africa, the president then takes one of his or her tasks and say, you are minister of this, you are deputy of this, you are this of that, you are this of that. So let's be clear. Those people are the people of South Africa. I just wanted to set that they are not individuals when they are there. That is why we throw stones at them and we tell you, don't ever come back. We don't want to see you anymore, because we actually feel, we as the people of South Africa, you are messing up our lives. You are not representing us well. We're not seeing you. We're not benefiting. We're not seeing the differences in our life. So there shall be no official who will ever say, and this I'm going to put it harshly, but it's an advice. I would like you to take it nicely. There shall be no official who says, actually, let those politicians come. No. Those politicians are the people of South Africa. Because if we don't clarify that, we are going to end up with officials saying, Board, go to Mamelodi and find out what they want. We must hear it from you. I just wanted to clarify. Sorry, I think I'm ending my thing on a very harsh note. I've got to go out for a few minutes, if you can bear with me, and then I'll be back. I'm not fighting. I was just setting the tone. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. So, Commissioner Mularone Mataeni, my question here, maybe before I make the question, just to comment on how you've mentioned that the bylaws are not gender specific, and that maybe that's something that you need to look at and make those particular amendments. So it will be good to follow up if something is done in that instance before this are passed. So my question is around training. You mentioned that we do continuous training. However, when you're doing the presentation, you always make reference to a recent training, and then you said it happened last year. So I wanted to find out, these trainings before people are issued licenses, how often do they take place? And are we only training people that are allocated space in areas that are demarcated? And what about those that are trading in spaces where they don't have licenses, spaces that are not demarcated for training, for trading? Are we also providing training for those? And lastly, I want to find out about the challenge that you posed about people not coming to attend these trainings. And then you mentioned that in the past 5 years, we haven't been able to provide that support. We don't want to sit here 10 years later and then we say in the past 10 years, we're not able to do this because budget constraints. So what is being done in that instance so that people know what the law says and how they must conduct their business when they are trading in the informal sector? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Once again, I'm Commissioner Dr. Naidu. I have a few questions under various categories. The first category is access to permit holder information. The discrepancy between 841, 502, you clarified that it was a mistake. I want to go to the category on disability. Where does the disability fall? Does it include both local and foreigners? The percentage for the disability is also extremely low. If you look at 1 from 300, it's 0.3.33. If you look at, that's females. If you look at male, 3 from 193 gives you 1.68. So the disability, therefore, is far lower in females than it is for males. Foreign nationals, there are more males than females. What is the criteria used there in issuing permits? In terms of economic growth and empowerment, your policy frameworks, the integrated gender equality and women empowered policy framework, how does the city monitor and evaluate the effectiveness and impact of these policies in the formal trade? And why have these policies not been fully integrated for transformation? Again, the issue of disabled under this category. In terms of the stall, the structure, how is it structured? How are these structured in terms of suitability for the disabled? Ablution facilities for the disabled, as well as females more especially. The city cannot say that there's no budget or it's an issue of a city issue, a widespread city issue. The city has a mandate to provide these ablution facilities. In terms of fees, there are no supporting documents in respect of gazette fees on how the different categories are adopted. How then is this structured and categorized for different trading permits? Under support and assistance provided to informal traders, where is the data registered and details in terms of attendance, gender, age, disability, as well as the impact of this development programs, especially for females and the disabled? Access to infrastructure, again, females and disability. In terms of priority list focus, you mentioned something about previous traders, informal traders in the vicinity with regard to constructing stalls. Is there a priority list that prioritizes females and disabled people? In terms of special events, you did mention that the informal traders are provided with permits to trade here. We would like to know what happened to the people, especially females and disabled people, who would only like to trade at these particular events and not as daily informal traders. How are they catered for? Is there a specific category for perhaps a special event informal trader? The next category, under compliance, is there a specific criteria used or all informal traders given this training? I think my colleague asked the same question earlier. Are there restrictions in terms of numbers? How many people took advantage of these initiatives? And what impact did it have in terms of transformation? In terms of female-run stalls and disabled-run stalls? And what funding has the city put in place for people who have been heavily impacted by COVID? Under gender management systems, besides the Women's Day events, what other specific measures have been implemented to support and empower women traders or female traders in the informal sector? You have these initiatives. Does this then become just another talk shop? All these women empowerment programs. Does it become another talk shop? Can the city provide evidence on how this information is used in order for the CGE to critically analyze the effectiveness of these programs in order to promote gender equality? And how does the city monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of these gender equality initiatives in the informal sector? Has it benefited? Has it benefited informal traders? The spluma has been dealt with in detail by the chairperson, so I will skip that. I'm going to come back to safety issues in terms of physical safety. You mentioned foot patrols and vehicles, but how effective is this? How often are these foot patrollers patrolling the area to maintain safety and protection for the informal traders? You also mentioned vehicles. Is there a particular roster, some plan that goes on during the course of the day, or do they just drive past whenever they are available? Especially in terms of extortion, our informal traders need to be protected against that. Ablution facilities, it's a basic human right. And the city is failing. This is a serious violation, and it needs to be addressed as a matter of urgency. I'm going to mention two other groups that have been left completely out of your responses, two other vulnerable groups. The first one includes the elderly. How are they protected, more especially, given the fact that our economy is such that people over the age of 60, 65, sometimes even 70 are forced to trade informally? How are they protected? What measures are they put in place? And another issue is the issue of the LGBTIQ+. You know, gender is fluid, and sometimes people may identify their identity document may state that they are one gender, but they may identify as another. What plans has the city put in place to make sure that those who belong to this community are given a fair chance in terms of access to permits, fair access to permits to trade informally, right? How has the city protected these two vulnerable groups? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, a lot of questions have been asked around the broader issues of safety and security, especially of vulnerable groups, of the elderly, the LGBTI community, and broader access of women. So I'm not going to touch on that. I want to get to the issue of climate change. But before I get to this issue, is that we need to be able to remind ourselves that local government is the key site of service delivery and development. And it remains central to the entire transformative project of South Africa. And we need to be able to center that. We can speak about the issues of formal laws, formal equality, etc. But what we're trying to do here as a commission is to be able to ensure that we reach substantive equality, and in particularly for women and for those vulnerable, broad, marginalized groups, which includes refugees, foreign nationals, etc., which is key also to our economy. And so why do I say this? Is because since lockdown or before, it is key that our economy has changed, and to be able to discharge our constitutional mandate, local government plays a pivotal role in the development of our communities as well as poverty alleviation. We're talking about not just a developmental state, we're talking about the developmental local government. And what does that mean? So I wanted to know what clear targets have you set in the provision of basic services to women and in particularly vulnerable persons, not just the bylaws and the ticking of boxes in terms of permits and the allocation of funding that has been given by CEDA, etc. But what have you done in terms of your local government mandate, which is set out in section 155, 6A and 7 of the Constitution, as well as Schedule 4, Part B of the Constitution, broadly in terms of regulations? For example, basic childcare facilities, even for women within the informal sector, on your in that particular sector. So we need to be able to speak to issues of giving people a dignified working environment, because ultimately this is a space of work. In addition to that, just to highlight that the global demographic trends and poverty significantly impacts on cities. We acknowledge that, and it necessitates a broad response, not just from local leaders, but yourselves. But it's also necessary, if we talk about the National Development Plan, that we need to disseminate poverty alleviation and also our developmental efforts from both a national sphere to a subnational, but in particularly local government and the municipality, which needs to ensure that the poor are being met at their place of need. And so it's important for me to be able to contextualize this, because we're talking about a developmental state and a developmental local government, and how do we achieve fundamentally poverty alleviation. Many of the people within the informal sector has not come out of lockdown and have not been integrated into the city center nor into broad business, because we are talking now of the securitization of poverty within the sector, and that does not fit within a developmental state. So just to be able to ensure that the developmental local government is not just a linear one, we understand that, but at the end of the day, how does national and provincial government or policy have they supported you in relation to your developmental mandate? And also, you are not just, there are systemic flaws, which we all acknowledge, and there needs interventions, but we need to be able to go to the root of it. And so I want to know, or we need to know, is that what additional support and oversight, as well as funding support, has been given to you, from provincial as well as national government. Because when we talk about socioeconomic rights, we're talking about inclusive, we're talking about from national down to local government. That's the context. So why am I moving towards climate change? The challenge that we have is that when we talk about the green economy, local government is at the forefront, and we're talking about funding, and you've raised your issue around challenges with funding, about integration, etc. When you go to your existing sources, obviously there won't be enough funding. So what I want to know is that what are you doing in terms of the green economy and the impact of climate change as they operate closest to these communities, and they play a critical role in the delivering of services at the work site and supporting vulnerable groups and fostering economic opportunities, in particularly in the green economy. And so as we transition from fossil fuel, which will all impact on the work of trade and what is the challenges within local government, we need to drive this. So what I want to know is, how do you support entrepreneurship, through the green economy, and in particularly women in the economy and women empowerment in the informal settlement, and what funding has been made available to be able to ensure that there's sustainable growth. Investing in skills development, this is not just about CEDA and about a broader integration into an existing economy which does not speak to the poor and the marginalized. So what I want to know, what we need to know is, what have we done to be able to train and upskill programs which will equip informal traders and workers with the expertise needed for green jobs, and, for example, communities in that informal sector to be able to speak to and how do they manage the broader sustainable waste management, etc., etc. It needs to be integrated. This is part of your broader mandate. How do we bring our communities as part of that? Because it can't be the community's responsibilities to carry their own waste away. This is a work site. This is a site where informal traders are required, where you are supposed to provide that service, not other way around, because they provide value. And so what I also want to know is that women and the informal sector are integral to South African communities and the broader economy, and we need to acknowledge this. So their resilience and innovation provide critical support during crises, which we saw during lockdown. What happened? It was the backbone of our women that carried this economy during lockdown. Secondly, and making their empowerment essential for sustainable development. So what have you done to promote financial inclusion for local government, how to create access to microloans and grants tailored for women-led enterprises and informal businesses, and encouraging their active participation, not just in this economy, but in particularly in the green economy. And why do I speak about this? Is because the Presidential Climate Change Commission has allocated, and we need to be able to unlock these funding for women that is on the ground when we talk about sustainable growth at the end of the day. So how do we ensure that there's basic services and also building socially support systems that integrate childcare, healthcare, and education, which reduce the burden on those women that stand up 4 o'clock in the morning in a taxi to come and sell within the city of Tshwane, and enable them to engage more fully in the economy as well as community building activities. So we need to be able to recognize informal work in a manner that speaks to what government is currently doing, and we need to be able to see what have you done to be able to ensure that. We must integrate the informal sector into these strategies, and I want to know what you have done to be able to integrate those strategies, including waste recycling programs, urban type of agriculture, which is done, for example, in Johannesburg, you know, on top of roofs, etc., as well as the craft industry. And this we can see across globally, in particularly in the South, how the informal economy is helping government to be able to develop or deliver in terms of their developmental goals. So we need to strengthen community networks. And so how do we do that? How do we jointly do economic development, but also fight against climate change? And local government have the ability to integrate sustainably into every aspect of this operation. So combining service delivery, community engagement, and economic innovation can lay the groundwork for that. We are all within a developmental state. We are here to be able to not just bring the challenges, but to find the solutions together to be able to ensure that women in the informal economy, you know, deserve or get what this constitution has given them, which is a dignified workplace. And so the active role demands a commitment to collaboration, innovation, and inclusivity. We don't want laws not just bylaws. That's securitization, that is bureaucracy. We want to understand what you have done, and it's not about the number of women's rights days, etc., and running 60 days of activism. We are talking about what you have done in terms of your policies as well as budget allocation through the support of both national and provincial government to be able to ensure that women are led and women are seen within the informal sector. So it's from a climate change perspective, what funding has been allocated so that there can be inclusivity within the city of Tshwane. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'll now give the city of Tshwane an opportunity to answer those questions, and then after that we'll do a second round from the Secretariat from CGE.
Commissioner, thank you very much for the questions. I think the first one was around the relationship between the city and SEDA. And also I think the chairperson raised the concern to say, I mean, why are we paying CEDA for providing service? I think that was the context of the question. What is happening is that we have signed a partnership agreement of CEDA, and that partnership agreement is mainly to establish business support centers in the city's townships. And currently there are 6 of those business support centers which are operational in the city. We've got one in Olvenhoutbosch, one in Mabopane, one in Atteridgeville, one in Hammanskraal, one in Mamelodi, and the last one in Bronkhorstspruit. There are 6 of them. And the reason why there's money which has been put aside by the city and CEDA for that purpose was to make sure that, I mean, we pay for salaries of the business advisors who are based there. It's not like we are paying CEDA money to provide service. It's just that there's a partnership. We are putting money jointly into a fund to cover the costs of operating those business support centers. And as part of the work that they're doing in those business support centers, I mean, they support the development and growth of SMMEs as well as informal traders within the city. Then there's a question around the fees. In the informal trading space, I mean, you've got people who are traders who are trading on day-to-day basis. I mean, they've got a normal permit, I mean, on a monthly basis, which they pay for it. I mean, they also pay, I mean, those who are attending special events to sell, they pay, I mean, 1-day permit. I mean, it's a 1-day permit, I mean, for you to go and sell at a particular spot. I mean, also, some of them, they operate within the city's facilities and they pay rental for that. I think those are different categories of fees which are being paid. And these fees, I mean, are approved by council as part of the normal budgeting process of the municipality. Every year, we adjust and send those fees to council for approval. And I'm happy to mention that, I mean, in the last 3 years, the city did not increase the fees. I mean, that was one way of trying to cushion the informal traders from the impact of COVID. I mean, the fees remained the same since I mean, the end of COVID until the current financial year. And that, I mean, we requested the special, I mean, request such that, I mean, the money, I mean, the traders are being given a bit of a cushion on that. The issues around waste management, I mean, we are aware that waste management is a responsibility of the city, and we do that. I mean, on daily basis, in the evenings, I mean, there are teams which are cleaning the trading facilities. I mean, they cleaned across the city, including the trading facilities. But obviously, I mean, like I'm saying that we provide, I mean, dustbins are provided there. I mean, we also provide the black bags so that they can also, I mean, it's not like it's an added responsibility for them, but we're just asking them to make sure that, I mean, they throw in the garbage in those dustbins. But that remains the responsibility of the municipality. Then, in terms of the abolition facility, I mean, all the trading facilities, which, I mean, the stalls which are being constructed by the city, they do make provision for abolition facility. There's no trading facility without an abolition facility. And what I said is that there might be a challenge like Sosville. I'm aware of that. The abolition facilities, I mean, they need maintenance, but and it's something that obviously will attend to it. But all the trading facilities of the city, they do have, I mean, abolition facilities, and we are trying to, I mean, they also comply with issues of people living with disability, so that they're able to access those facilities without any challenge. I think CM, you'll talk to the issue around the Spluma issue. Then the other issue, I mean, the other one was a comment around the fact that we need to be explicit in the bylaw around the issues of gender issues. I think that definitely that's a commitment that we are making. That the new bylaw, which we are taking to council, will have to make sure that the issues of women are elevated in that bylaw. Women empowerment and people living with disability are elevated in the bylaw. The other one is about the question around how often do we have the trainings. I mean, those trainings, they happen every Wednesdays. And anyone who's interested to be a trader comes and attend those workshops. And then obviously, I mean, when they come in, they'll be taken through the requirements of trading and the bylaw and all those things. And also, I mean, they'll be assisted to identify an appropriate trading spot. I mean, we do that every Wednesday, that people attend those training workshops. I think the commissioner asked questions around the data we provided in terms of that women, for example, on the foreigners, there were more females than men. I mean, remember these permits are issued based on the people who come to us to apply. It was not like there was a deliberate attempt by the city that we're going to exclude women and only offer permits to men. I mean, it means more foreign men came to apply than women. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that, I mean, there was an exclusion from the city that we excluded women in these issues. I think I've covered the issue of the fees that, I mean, that they're gazetted every year. I mean, every year from the beginning of July, there are new fees. I mean, as per the budgeting process of the municipality. I mean, linked to that, I think there was a question around disabilities. It's the same as foreign nationals. That I mean, there are more men, disabled men who were issued with permits as compared to women. I mean, I think the answer is the same. That those are the people that came to us to apply for the permits. There's a question around on the 1 day permit, if that can be only, I mean, if women who are not interested to be traders on day-to-day basis can come and apply for 1 day permit. Yes, they can. I mean, if they bring, I mean, the requirements as required by the city, they will be offered. That's why those permits are specific. They're specific for a particular event. I mean, they're specific for a particular event. If there's a rugby match at Loftus, there will be a permit for that day. And anyone, the challenge will be if you want to trade in food, obviously you must have a certificate of acceptability from health, so that, I mean, but if you want to trade on any other thing that does not require additional responsibility, as long as you've got the minimum requirements, I mean, the city will be able to offer you that permit, even if you don't want to trade on day-to-day basis. In terms of COVID funding, just to say that, I mean, during COVID, as a city, one of the things we did to try and assist, our informal traders was that, I mean, there was a payment holiday in the city for 2 years. I mean, that traders were not paying for licenses. I mean, the city issued free licenses to the traders as one way of assisting them to survive. I mean, post-COVID. And the other issue was what I've just said, that we've kept our fees and permits fees, I mean, constant for the past, I think it's about 2-3 years, to be corrected on that one. That we did not increase them so that we can assist our traders on that issue. I think you've raised, on the issues of fiscal safety of our traders. I think that's a major issue. I think it's the same as abolition facilities. I think we'll definitely, through the city manager, address this issue on a serious note to ensure that in our trading facilities we have a sufficient security provided at those facilities. I think the issue of abolition facility, I think I've responded to that to the issue. That we take note of the concerns of the committee, and we'll definitely make sure that all our facilities, all the abolition facilities are in a working state, in such so that they can be able to provide dignity to our traders. The issue around, I think the safety issue, I think I've touched on it. I think I'll hand over to the CM now to respond to the other questions when I'm checking. On the list of questions. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, okay.
Sorry. Okay, sorry, I just want to clarify something before we move on to the next person. The chair, just to remind you that the chairperson did state that you do not have to respond to all the questions right now. You will be given the opportunity to respond in writing. Just an area of concern before we move on to the next, with regard to disability. The concern was, where does the disability fall in terms of the stats that you've provided, right? So you can just go back and check on that and give us a written feedback. The other issue was the ablution facilities. You stated that all informal areas have ablution facilities. All. Stalls, all. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Just one particular comment is that when we talk about progressive realization and we're talking about gender inclusivity, etc., what programs or what activities do you have in place then to be able to ensure that women, in particularly the disabled, etc., are included into your statistics? What have you done to be able to go out and find those those persons, to be able to ensure that we, as a developmental state and a local government, reach targets that speaks to gender inclusivity, gender equality, etc. Because in terms of broader access, it might just be the males, for example, that will apply, because the women don't have the resources or the broader access to be able to get to your service. And so in terms of organizing, in terms of accessing, who do you work with to be able to ensure that they are also included and counted into the economy, like Commissioner Naidu has indicated? What have you done to be able to progressively realize, you know, that particular issue, not just in terms of application, but in terms of access?
Thank you. Just two matters that I just want to deal with, and then I'll make just a comment on the outstanding issues. We do apply the Spluma Act, and whilst we appreciate that there are comments around this, with the Spluma itself is successful, the issue is around the implementation of Spluma. And Spluma is not only based on what local government is doing, it's also based upon what national and provincial government is doing. Giving you an example, we still have areas in Tshwane that where the title does not vest in the municipality. So the title still vests in still vest in the old Quantabele, moving over to the northwest, for example. That transaction has not been finalized. So the authorities that are there, and that is where this juncture comes between planning, our planning regime, Spluma, and the traditional areas, that it is possible for me to go, as the chair has noted, to go to a traditional area and buy a plot and to build a house and to illegally connect to our electricity or our water distribution systems. So that happens. Doesn't mean that Spluma is a problem. It means that we have not laid the table as government broadly to implement Spluma. That is the issue. And we are dealing with a number of unintended consequences as far as that is concerned. For example, our industrial parks. They were all part of another, well, there were a number of issues that took place, but they were all part of a government, provincial government, that was now included into Tshwane. But what happened was we are still struggling to take ownership so that we can apply our laws, our bylaws, so that even if you do come in there and you want to set up shop there, so to speak, in a business park, whether you are female or whether you're LGBTQ or whether you're elderly, it simply doesn't happen because government, in all of its transitions, have not laid the table. So what we are trying to do now, for example, to deal with that issue, is to negotiate with the province of, let's say, Northwest, or with the traditional authority, give us a power of attorney so that we can take ownership through a power of attorney and then apply our bylaws. We are at the end of a value chain. That value chain has not run its course because of the nature of our transition from before 94, 1983, 1994, 2000. So those are some of the structural difficulties that impact on some of the areas within Tshwane. So Spluma in the built-up areas works perfectly. Spluma in some of the rural areas where there are those breakdowns in the value chain, as it happened, there it is a problem. I agree. But it's not only our problem as a city of Tshwane or local government in general, because the chair has rightly said that there are areas, Eastern Cape, everywhere. If you overlay the old homelands over the democratic South Africa, then you'll see exactly where those areas are. And that's the truth. The other matter, the point that I have made, that I've tried to make, and perhaps I expressed myself badly, was that at local government level, when we go and account to province or to national, then we do so as the whole of the administration, both the political leg and the administrative leg. That is the point that I was making. I was making no other point that anybody must be picked upon. That's not the point. That's definitely not the point. It simply makes sense. The same when I was in national government. If your minister is not there, they chase you back. You must go back. Go fetch your minister. You can't sit here alone. That's the only point that I was making. I was not being certainly, if I came across as in any way insinuating anything else, then I expressed myself badly in that case. Then there are then a number of issues that we have raised, and I must admit, when we put together this team, it was not from across the municipality. It was specifically to deal with informal trading. So the colleagues that you see here, they deal specifically with informal trading, and not other departments that may also be that may also be that may also have information in terms of the questions that you have asked. And you have asked very wide-ranging but relevant issues with regard to LGBTQ and how they, for example, also the elderly and the disabled, but let's take the LGBTQ, how they would be accommodated. Now, all that we can say is that we do not exclude on that basis. We do not also have a preference in terms of that. But that's perhaps not what the point of your question is. And I know that. So we would, so there are a number of issues here, especially around the green economy, the waste recycling that we are, in terms of which there are certain projects, but we don't have that detail here. It's going to be a bit of a. We would prefer to have those questions, perhaps, with the assistance of your researchers in writing, so that we don't answer the questions that we wrote down, because that is another problem. What I've written down and what you meant may be two totally different things. So I would implore you that for those issues for which we have not given specific answers, that we come back to you in writing, or that we give to you in writing. And I'm not sure what the process is, whether you would still like to engage us after that. I would not mind that, to come and explain what it is that we've put down, so that we have a follow-up discussion on these matters, just so that the record is clear, so that when you make your recommendations, it is then actually, it is then built on or based upon information that I can certainly sign off and say, here it is, good or bad, here it is, and then it would be recommendations that I think would be based in realism and fact. I'm just checking quickly whether there are perhaps other questions that we can quickly, like the disaggregated data, we don't have that. We can't give you, sitting here, disaggregated data in respect of the support for traders in those various categories. We're just not prepared for that. So that is my request at this stage, Chair, Acting Chair, if I can put it that way.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mehta. Yeah, the process going forward, we will explain at the end of the hearing. There is a process that we'll follow, and we'll set it out for you just before we close for today. All right, I am now going to hand over for the second round of questions from the CGE staff, and I'll give an opportunity first to our Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Mazutoka, to pose any questions that he may have.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. So I'll be posing questions, but also expressing some views for you to consider on some of the issues that we are discussing today. Just firstly, on the policy that you have submitted, I just want confirmation that this is an approved policy, because when one goes through it, I don't see the date of approval and signature thereof. So I just firstly need clarity on that. And then zooming into the policy in question, we need to be careful in terms of gender neutrality that we are using in the policy. So we need to be inclusive and sensitive in that regard. You go to page 37 of the policy, where it talks about where a person employs a child who is defined as a person under the age of 16. We state in the policy that they're guilty of an offense. So I think we need to qualify what offense are they guilty of. And I would advise that you try to link that particular clause with the Children's Act in that regard. There is a specific responsibility in terms of Section 150 of the Children's Act, where a person is found to have employed a child that amounts to child labor. I'm interested to know, in terms of any of your interventions that you may have embarked on, whether you have able to refer some of these matters to DSD, and if so, are you able to give us a picture of whether child labor is prevalent in your city or not? Again, you look at your policy, it's a very good policy. It proposes that you must have an integrated and holistic approach. But you go to the nuts and bolts of your role thereof, it does not come out clearly. How have you created that integrated approach and holistic approach to really deal with the challenges of the informal sector? One of the aspirations to address the challenges in the informal sector is to have meaningful engagements with the informal economic the workers there. I'm interested to know if you have had any those meaningful discussions. I've heard in your presentation that you often have sessions where you take them through the do's and the don'ts. But in terms of existing challenges, have we had those type of discussions? And I want to link this to what is referred to as the Informal Trading Development Forum that is captured in your policy. Because I would want to believe that this forum is the one that spearheads, or rather it's an interlink between yourselves and the workers thereof. So I'm interested to know whether you had those meaningful discussions and challenges, and how has the forum assisted in terms of bringing solutions to such challenges. Of course, you need to also facilitate the linkages between formal and informal employment. That is espoused also in terms of the policy itself. But in your presentation, I'm not hearing a lot of that. And I'm hoping that it can be clarified. You aspire also to ensure, in terms of the policy, economic growth. I'm interested to know about these existing strategies that you have embarked on as a municipality to ensure that indeed there is that economic growth. Apart from your engagement with the Department of Small Development Enterprises, what else are you really doing to really empower and capacitate the economic growth of the sector? One of the things that, if you go through literature, will inform you is that you need to have, amongst others, a social network that is linked to the economic development of the sector. So I'm interested to know whether such initiatives does exist, because we need to be intentional if we are about transformation. And one of my concerns in your presentation, just even the preliminary assessment, is that we seem to be emphasizing a lot on compliance, what the informal sector needs to comply with. But we say so little around transformative initiatives, developmental discussions that will ensure that no one is left behind. So I look at even your Annex C, where you are reading out the Riots Act, basically. You must not do this, you must do this, you must do that. But we are not hearing so much around those transformational discussions. And I'll give an example of where we are as a country. One of the challenges that we have highlighted, and I'm certain you are aware of, is that those that are employed in the, even Khumi, to please keep quiet, even those that are employed in the informal sector, they have the disadvantage of not having maternity benefits. And they don't have childhood care centers as well. Those are transformative development discussions that should be taking place to ensure that indeed nobody is left behind. Those that are mothers must not be disadvantaged because of this extra role that they play in the sector. But the sector, of course, does not recognize that. But we are not hearing those. Those are the transformative discussions that we need to know. What are you doing at your end as a municipality to ensure that there is inclusivity? So therefore, I find that your policy it's a good policy, but cannot be translated to the day-to-day issues that most that are experiencing in the province. You have carefully indicated that you do not have budgets, and I think it's an explanation that we normally have. We need to understand what steps have you taken thus far to really deal with the infrastructure development there. Who have you engaged? Have you engaged DPW? What is the status? Something to that effect, so that there must be, again, that clear intention of you saying you want to address the challenge. There is the question around the absolution facilities. I want to pose it differently to say, we need to get from you, of these absolution facilities, how many, or rather these facilities that have been demarcated as trading places, how many actually have absolution facilities and how many actually do not have, so that we can just get a clear picture when we leave this hearing, or even in writing, that you can just confirm. I'm interested to see also the terms of reference for this forum, the Informal Trading Development Forum. Please share that with us so that we can see how effective is this forum. You look at the project 143 of the Law Reform Commission. It recommends, amongst others, that municipalities must align its own structures, plans and budgets, and programming to achieve benefits of inclusive economic development. I'm interested to know, how have you practically taken steps to realize that provision? And about existing opportunities, excuse me. So again, this was one of the recommendations coming out of the Law Reform Commission discussion paper, that municipalities must provide adequate space and opportunities for informal businesses to thrive and grow in society. What are those existing opportunities that you have provided in the informal sector? And you'll then appreciate that the questions that I'm posing center around transformation in the sector, deliberate intention to empower, deliberate intention to ensure that there's economic growth, deliberate intention that there must be safety. We have heard it before, because this discussion around the exclusion of women in the main in the informal sector, we have started it as early as 2017. We have been here before with the municipality. It cannot be that in 2024 we are still being told we will ensure that there is safety in these demarcated areas. We will ensure. It ought to have been done by now. If it's not done, what really lies the challenge? Is this a particular duty bearer that is not coming to the party? Because these are the issues that you need to be sharing with us, so that we understand that you have taken progressive steps since our last engagement. And of course, when you look at the Law Reform Commission discussion paper, you have taken steps to make sure that these things are really realizable in your municipality. Because we ought to be hearing from you how, for example, the issue of childhood development centers, though it has been shifted to the Department of Basic Education, but from the informal sector, we ought to be hearing that you have developed an industrial development plan to really ensure that in whatever demarcations you embark on as a municipality, you take into cognizance the needs and interests of mothers and fathers who are going into these sectors with their respective children. And we must recognize that, because if we do not, it says we undermine the role of parents and the well-being of the children, which is one of the central issues that have been raised in this discussion paper. I'm interested also on the following. The development of strategies and programs responding to the needs and interests of those that are in the informal sector. The different viable options that have been developed to ensure that there is growth in the informal trading. In terms of limitations with regard to resources, can we break it down? What do we mean? You have said you are able to do certain things if infrastructure development, but it's not clear. Just break it down what you were able to do, say, for the past 5 years leading to now, so that we are actually seeing that you have taken steps to address some of the challenges there. I think I will pause here, Brett. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Mototoka. I'll now give the mic to Mr. Shuping.
All right, thank you. Can I just get just a confirmation from your presentation? You indicated that there are about 10,000 foreign nationals that end up in the city that you are grappling with. Is that 10,000 per month, only per month, or is it a financial year? Can I please just get that confirmation, then I can proceed with other questions?
It is a statistic. It is 10,000 per annum.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right. Now, given that statistics of about 10,000 that the city has to be dealing with, which part of them may be contributing to illegal trading, what we don't hear you speaking about is your capacity. Your capacity to handle illegal trading. Currently, there are there in the streets, and as per those statistics, they continue to be increasing. Now, what capacity do you have? Maybe if you can tell us in terms of your staff, how many staff are processing these, so that we understand from your capacity perspective, how are you coping with these incidents? Just to be more specific, you mentioned regarding about 500 in a financial year, plus minus, informal traders are actually registered. Now, what we are not seeing is now, in terms of your capacity, how are you handling then in others who are not registered, who can be in thousands and hundreds? And that is what we are not getting regarding your capacity. And you will indicate further to that question that there are several activities that you are responsible for. Among others, is include checking that there is no fire that is taking place in these areas where it is not licensed for, there is no sleeping taking place there, and also illegal trading. Now, do you have sufficient personnel to police or to inspect these illegal tradings, and how are you carrying out those? That is not what we are hearing from your answer or your presentation. Are you coping daily? How many inspections are you getting? How many are you arresting? And so on. So please speak to that regarding your capacity and various different activities that you have to ensure that remain prohibited. The further to the draft standard draft bylaws that are issued recently, what they are requiring is that there should be operational and management capacity. How did you deal with them in your response, in your input that you gave in developing your own policy now? How did you outline your capacity, your structure, and the processes thereof, so that you are ensuring that there is sufficient operational and management capacity? Speak to us about that, please. Does your current structure, is it adequate to be able to enforce now these new proposed regulations when they come into play, the draft standard bylaws? Will you need more to try and ensure that you are enforcing or you are having sufficient operational and management capacity? What is also speaking about is compliance. We are not hearing you saying how many compliance inspections, how many compliance notices, if you issue any, and how many contraventions have you found people. To what value has it caused the city, this illegal trading? So your presentation lacks that enforcement perspective of it. It gives impression that there is nothing that the city is doing about enforcement. It defeats then the purpose of those 500 per annum that are legally trading if there is triple or even more numbers that are trading illegally, trampling on their rights. It is thus promoting that it is fine to be unregulated rather, and not ensure that these informal traders are registering. So that is what your presentation is lacking there. Further to those regulations, Section 7, subsection 6 provides for that there must be vetting of these illegal informal traders. What vetting have you conducted? Give us information around that. And have you declined then a lot more based on the vetting capacity that you are having? Well, what facility are you using to conduct these vettings? Because it does take into account that activities that these traders could have been involved in and crimes that they could have been involved in wherever they are coming from should be taken into account in this vetting process. And that answer, we were not hearing it from your presentation. The other aspect is regarding complaint system. You are mentioning there is a complaint system in place that is managing complaints. I assume is plus minus 500 complaints that it could be dealing with. Are you receiving, are you addressing those? So that we ensure that it doesn't provide an environment to escape with impunity regarding the registered traders. The provisions of the draft regulations, we will be glad to provide the input as the Commission. Once you provide it to us, we will definitely do that. What we need you to highlight is offenses and penalties. What are they? Those, they don't even mention about the actual penalties that are there. The offenses are general offenses about prohibited conduct. But what about the penalties? I did not see those speaking to that. Can you please tell us about is the imprisonment is justified? One, I saw the aspect speaking about written warning, sort of. And the next step is what type of penalties will be applied. I mean, those should be able to deter persons from committing these illegal activities. And if the draft regulations and your policy is silent on those, then it is going to be difficult for the city to enforce, not only even be illegal for you to even enforce them without those legality processes in place. So please provide that. What penalties have you been giving currently while you are waiting the finalization of this draft bylaws? Give us those statistics so that we understand how many have been found guilty and suspended and imprisoned if applicable. Further, it requires you to engage a lot with other law enforcement authorities. There is a lot of authorities under health sector, under dealing with the issue of noise, under buildings and tobacco and others. But we are not hearing from your conversation that about percentages of our cases were handed over to these authorities, and we are dealing with these percentages at the moment. So your information lacks that part of this cooperation. What is the outcome? Because the intention of this is to ensure that illegal traders, in your purpose of your policy, is clear that they should be registered. Now, if you know for a fact that a lot of them are not registered, what interventions are these other regulatory bodies, stakeholders, that you need to be working with, which is not even properly outlined within this draft policies, that relationship, so that we understand where are you lacking or your limitations as the city. Apart from deterrent sanctions, the penalties and suspension, what I'm not hearing further is the empowerment there. Those illegal traders, what have you done? Is there means that you have ever think of to say, how can we face a reality that they are here and trading, but how are you capacitating them or assisting them so that they can come and register as well? Because if that is not done, the reality is that they continue trading as such, but you are not indicating that such and such a number, we have engaged them and they are starting to register. I mean, 500 to say the least, it's not acceptable that the city is full of illegal traders, but none is held accountable for illegal trading. It does not give that confidence that the city is upholding the law. In terms of your policy again, Clause 11, it speaks about law enforcement and monitoring. It provides that the enforcement can take part, among others, policing on restricted conduct, policing and trading of prohibited and restricted areas. It's saying that. Now you'll understand why my initial questions was there. These are the obligations that the city must be doing, but you are not reporting about that in your entire presentation to the Commission today. And what is mainly concerning about it is Clause 11.15. Clause 11.15 provides that law enforcement action taken against illegal or prohibited activities must be relative to the processes and structures in place. It must be relative to the processes and structures in place. It then further says this: the policing and requiring of trading permits cannot be enforced by the city. It is concerning that we are talking about 500 persons who registered, but the city in its own policy is acknowledging and saying that they cannot take enforcement. And you know what is the reason for that? In the same policy, in the same line that I was reading, the reason is that there is no adequate processes and structures in place. What is that? Please talk to us. What is that structure? You don't have compliance officers? You don't have a tribunal to send to. You cannot refer these matters for prosecution and so. And structure is what? You don't have capacity. You were solely structured on service delivery and not capacitated on enforcement. Talk to us about that, because you identified it in your policy. Now the question is, when we are having this prohibited conduct that we are seeing, illegalities that are taking place, municipality is saying nothing on their policy about its structure. It's in fact, pardon me, to correct it, it's saying we will not take enforcement action because we don't have processes and structures in place. It means we are wasting our time by trying to deal with illegal trading if the municipality acknowledges that they will never deal with it in their own policy. So please go and look at the policy and address the issue in question. So in your question, I need you to answer your capacity of that processes. Don't you have policies so that you can start right away drafting the policies, tight policies, so that illegal traders can be held to account? Calling upon you to conduct necessary inspections. Further, whether you have sufficient structures, please speak to that in your response. The issue of the children that of illegal traders who are registered with you, please also indicate what are your considerations in granting the permits to those premises. What is the consideration to those who are having children? Because there are others who you will see children running around the taxi rank or the streets. What considerations is the city giving there? And lastly, regarding research, we have not heard you saying as the city, what research are you conducting? Do you need assistance there? This 10,000 to combine the link, the 10,000 about illegal foreigners who are entering the country and making it to the city. How many percentages of that now end up being in the street doing illegal trading? Is there research that you have conducted around that to address this issue? And how did you deal with it? Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you, Setsi. I'm now going to give our legal officers the opportunity to ask questions. Ms. Mere and Ms. Aplane. Thank you.
I just wanted to find out, this question also stems around the comments that have been made and suggestions and questions that have been posed by the commissioners and our CEO in terms of ensuring sustainable inclusivity. Whether the city currently at the moment, when they developed the new bylaw in compliance, I'm guessing with the published bylaw by COGTA, did they take into consideration the disaggregated data to inform their own policies as well? You know, you already have a informal trading policy, but it doesn't really speak in line with the actual bylaw and implementation. So have you used your own policy and the disaggregated information to see where the gaps are in order to develop the bylaw that is said is going to be tabled for Thursday? And the other question that I wanted to find out is in terms of your impoundment and removal. The bylaw does not specify how the process in itself is going to unfold. There's case law that has reiterated the necessity of having transparent procedures so that people are able to complain if the bylaw is not being implemented in terms of a process. But in this instance, this bylaw does not actually tell you how this process is going to unfold. Section 9.2 just says that an authorized officer acting by virtue of Section 9.1 must comply with the SAPS Act and the Criminal Procedure Act. But what provisions are those? I mean, if you're speaking to a layman and you're expecting them to interpret this, how do they even know when the process in itself is not being applied properly in order for them to actually complain when their Section 35 rights are actually being violated in instances where arrests do happen? And also in terms of impounding as well. Do the Section 50, I think it's Section 51 notices that are being issued by your traffic officers to actually inform them as to where their goods are going to be where their goods are actually going to be stored, how do they get to them, and what provisions can they put in place. Because the informal trading bylaws has got a provision in terms of when your permit can actually be withheld and conditions in terms of when it can be suspended. But that doesn't translate in the bylaw. So why, I'm just confused with between the disjuncture between the execution of when offenses are actually being committed. Why has it not been translated into the bylaw as well? And then, so if you can just maybe for now take us through the actual process of how do traffic officers actually impound? What process do they embark on?
Firstly, I would like to understand what are the common reasons for the rejection of an application when one applies for a permit? And secondly, if you go to your bylaw on page 6, the second paragraph, which reads that the informal trading policy of the city of Tshwane contained herein takes into account the principles of the GEGDS and TGDS. So I would like you to please explain to us what does the GEGDS and TGDS stand for, or what do they mean, because they are not reflected into your definition. Still on that, taking into account spatial injustice in South Africa, I'd like to, taking into account the history of this country when it comes to spatial segregation, when we look into today, we can see that spatial segregation is still in place even after apartheid, even now in the new constitutional dispensation. And my question relating to that, taking into account that most informal traders, when we take into account spatial segregation, they need to travel long distances and so forth. I would like to ask, what are the attempts that the municipality has taken to at least offer trading bays linked to transport hubs? Because we know that it is very important, especially for the vulnerable groups such as women, because if they're in the outskirts, since they travel for long hours, they're also, they can be subjected to criminals who attack them and so forth. And lastly, from my reading of the bylaw, once a person has applied for a permit, it gives one exclusive use of the permitted area where they can trade. So I just want to check if my understanding is correct, or maybe correct me if I'm not reading it properly, as to once a trading bay has been assigned to an informal trader, or they've been given that particular space, are they allowed to switch to a different space, or do they need to reapply, taking into account that at times, due to the changing economic development, some businesses do not require a person to be standing or sitting at one place. They need to move around so as to attract more customers and so forth. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, sorry, it's just advice from my side. In the case of State versus Makwanyane and others, 1995, the Constitution said, gone are the days when Constitutional Court, when interpretation of application of the law should be, it says was, and therefore it is in the past tense. And they put measures. One of the measures was that it actually has got to be purposeful in terms of what the drafters may have been thinking. Secondly, responsive to resolve an issue, not just for the sake of. Why I'm raising this is because the issue of addresses has become a moot point. if I'm going to be house number 1074 with 11 shacks in my, what you call it, and those people wanting, in my yard, wanting to earn a living, why just me? Because then you are opening up to abuse. Because me as the landlord, I'm going to borrow my license for a fee from these people who anyway cannot even afford a house and are trying to earn a decent living. So I think the issue, that is why I'm saying it's not a question, it's advice. The issue of providing an address is important. It's important because we need to know where and how to find the person. But the truth of the matter is we've got 30%, if not more, of the South African population unfindable because they are in informal settlements across the country, if not more. So maybe it should be re-looked at to say, how can we issue licenses without bogging people down to addresses, seeing that the address links this person? Or if you keep to the address, then let it not be a form of a basis for refusal that two licenses are issued from one house. Maybe there can be a category of landowner, or in shack dweller in the backyard, you know, something like that, so that that address, if it comes 4 times, it makes sense. I was just advising. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, colleagues, for your questions. I'm now going to give over to Tshwane Municipality to answer the questions that they can.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask my team to answer those questions where there are very specific questions that are within your knowledge. The vast majority of these questions we will have to take in writing so that we can respond to it correctly. There are many that wants questions over 5 years and statistics and so on. It is impossible. I cannot answer those questions. So I would ask my colleagues only where there is a specific question, even the question on the what process does the police take? They've got an SOP. I can't tell you about the SOP, I must get it for you. You know, so it's not as if we don't want to answer the stuff. As I said, we only deal with a particular number of matters that you have raised in your questionnaire to us. We've answered those. We can respond to those. Anything outside of that, we'll have to get back to you, so we will await the questions that you may have for us in that regard.
Thanks, City Manager. I think before I respond, let me clarify 2 things. I think the first one, the Chief Executive Office, I think you are referring to, in your questioning, I think you kept on referring to employees and employees. I think maybe there was I don't know, I mean, a bit of a challenge around interpretation, because here we're talking about informal traders, because I think you're talking about maternity leave and stuff, and those, maybe if you can clarify that, because are not applicable in the space, but maybe we can, maybe we'll get them in writing so that we can respond to those here. Okay, no, it's...
I'm suggesting that what can be clarified here must be clarified, because it's going to be particularly irritating for you to put that in writing.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary.
Okay.
You ask for clarity.
I think you kept on mentioning the issue of maternity leave and stuff. I think I didn't understand the context of that. I think if you can clarify that, we can be able, we will be able to respond to that issue. You want to clarify it now?
Yes. So remember what I was saying. I was saying when you engage with the sector itself, I want to understand if you had meaningful engagement, because we have transformative developments in the sector. An example of those was the proposal to have the maternity benefits, right? to be introduced. And this is, as I've said, it's something that is in the pipeline. But I'm saying in terms of your own engagements, what are you doing in that space? Because a lot is not happening there, but there's something that is recognized that it needs to be done, hence such proposal. So I'm not saying this is currently applicable. I'm saying it's part of the transformative developments that are happening, but we need to get it from you, from your side, not necessarily confined to maternity, but in terms of transforming the sector, in terms of support, what are you doing? I hope it's clear.
No, it's fine. I think we'll receive that in writing so that we can respond to that, yeah. I think most of the issues, colleagues, were not, as the city manager mentioned, were not part of the initial questions, and that is why our presentation did not cover them. But if you can send them to us in writing, I think we'll be able to respond to all those issues. Thanks, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Oh, you want to answer? Okay. Oh, okay.
Oh, yes. I just wanted to respond to some, to say we do have a specific division that deals with strategic interest groups. We even have a desk for the disabled. We've got a gender desk as well in the department. So we do have programs that are looking at it broadly, not specific to the sector only. We do have early childhood development centers, for instance, in the city that caters for a wide variety of the groups that we have. So it may not necessarily be specific to the sector, but we do have them there. And part of the programs that they deal with, it's gender mainstreaming, where they also look at policies if they are enabling into the spaces. We engage with Gauteng province, for instance, DSD, in terms of training and awareness and all sorts of programs that we run together with the other developmental entities that we have in the city. For instance, within the gender space, we had an entrepreneurial workshop. So those programs are there. We also have an EPWP program, for instance, that has a policy which actually targets women specifically, so that it's a combination. It's also part of the exit strategies that we have for indigent personnel, and we work quite closely with the Economic Development Department in terms of how do we collaborate within these spaces. Yeah, so I just thought maybe let me mention that.
Thank you, CEO. Can I ask just to add to that? We as the CGE, if you can go back to our reports, you will see we work with the same entities over many years. So I'm just saying, so that we get out of your hair, if I could use that phrase, please give us concrete examples, concrete responses. A classic, I'm so glad you came in. A response was exactly what you say. We have a gender desk. We don't want that answer. If that gender desk was functioning, women would not be going to Salzburg station to go and pee or change the sanitary pads. So we want specifics so that we know what the picture looks like inside Gauteng, inside Tshwane, and we get on with it. So we don't want the usual shiring. I'm sorry to use that phrase. Yes, we've got a gender desk. Yes, we've got a disability. No, that has been done for 30 years. We are in trouble as a country. So I'm appealing to you that everything, ask now, but we are not going to have a response of broad brush strokes. Otherwise, we will never end this. We have had organizations, universities, whatever, we're going into 6 years, whatever, with universities, 24 of them we started in 2014. We are on their case, and it is unpleasant for us every time to be going to D-head and saying nothing has changed with regards to this. Nothing has changed with regards to this. And you have a university like Forte where the vice chancellor came in, boom, 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 because he actually looked at some of the things and did it. So I'm just cautioning you, please, we do not want political speech. We do not want political speak as well. Give us stats, give us where you are failing. If you say 5, what you call it, it's 5. We're from KZN last week. They were telling us about the gender command center, call center, command call center or gender center. 2021, 2022, they had 45 calls. 2022, 2023, they had 53. 2023, 2024, they had 65. And I was saying, why then are you not delivering this command call center in the province? It is not working. Go back to 10,111. That's what the duty of managers is. To actually go back and say, we can't have 45. You have 9 regions. You have 45 calls, which means 5 calls per region in a year. There are people there the whole day. They're sitting there, no calls coming. We don't know whether they should be improving on marketing or what. You know, that's what we're expecting from managers. So all I'm saying is, please, whatever the information you're bringing, don't say, oh, you ask for stats, we'll give you stats. Because we will come back and say, how then do you feel that in a year you are running a service where tens of millions are being put in for 45 calls? So I just wanted to caution you, don't have the right attitude so that we work together. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Sorry. All right. That brings us to the end of the second round of our questions and answers. I had been asked to take a break now before we do reflections, but just given the time, I think I'm going to go straight into the reflections, if that's okay. Yeah. All right. So the reflections now will be done by Commissioner Mulalo. I will hand her the mic.
Thank you very much. And firstly, thank you all for the conversation that we had today. Maybe just to take us back from where we've started, there was work done by the CGE team. We did our presentation and highlighting what exactly is happening on the ground, the literacy amongst women, the longer operating hours, the storage facilities, climate change impact, and issues around ablution. And then we went in to hear responses around what the city of Tshwane is saying about the questions that were sent to them. And in our discussion, we were all clear that the bylaws that we're talking about are outdated, and then there was work being done to ensure that this will speak to what is happening today. So from what has been presented, I just want to highlight this is something that I will always come back to, or we will always come back to, because we say that these bylaws are not specific when it comes to gender. And then you say that this is something that you will look into. It's something that you will make sure that there will be amendments or changes that would need to be done, because that will speak directly to the mandate of the Commission for Gender Equality. And another thing is that issues of safety and ablution, those as stressed also by my fellow commissioner, were things that were of utmost concern, and it needs immediate attention. So if those can be attended to, that will help. The specific groups, disability, issues of climate change, and also a big issue around illegal trading. So it is important that we have policies that speak exactly to what is happening on the ground, and we don't take this as issues that are being done in isolation. Yes, there's different departments that are dealing with this, but as an informal sector, we need to make sure that we take from what they're doing, so that when we come and present our issue, we can be able to say, as a city, this is what we are doing for those that are in the informal sector. So it's not just about compliance with the policies. We need to be specific in what we are sharing. We need to also speak to the examples of people that are living this on a day-to-day basis. Our CEO has also mentioned prevalent issues that are affecting women that are working in the informal sectors, and talk about the transformation, the impact, and also making it easier for them to be able to trade in the informal sector, because it is critical that they also have a fair chance. Equality is not just about saying we're doing women empowerment, but when we do these transformative discussions, when we look beyond what is provided, we are making sure that we are giving them equal opportunities. So, yeah, that is our reflection from the day that we've had. I believe that the challenges that you've highlighted, there were questions that we are saying we don't want to hear that we haven't been able to do this. It should be, we haven't been able to do this, but there is this that we're putting in place, because the work that we do, it's not for ourselves, it's for our people and the country as a whole. And it would be good for other cities to look at the work that was done today, the work that will continue, and say that if the city of Tshwane can do this, we can also do this. And yeah, that will be all from my side. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Commissioner. This brings us to the end of the hearing. I just wanted to check with the chair, the commissioners, and the CEO if there's anything else anyone wants to add. Okay. All right. Right, thank you very much, everybody. So just to advise you of the process going forward, you'll receive, the City of Tshwane will receive correspondence from us in about 7 days' time. And in that correspondence, we'll set out what extra information we're going to require from you, what findings we've made, and what recommendations or preliminary recommendations we're going to make. Sorry about that. Yes, so as I was saying, you'll receive a correspondence from us regarding findings and recommendations, as I explained, or preliminary findings. And then at the end of the financial year, the CGE will also be releasing a report on this investigation. Okay, and the final thing to do, Mr. Mettler, is we just need to release you from your oath. I see the acting HOD is back. He just needs to release you. Everything you say from now on is going to be on.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mettler. You are released from oath. You can be free now.
Okay, formalities finished. Please, we invite the City of Tshwane to join us for lunch here in the dining room. And with no further ado, thank you, colleagues, and drive safe.